Welcome to the City Council's July 29th special City Council meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with City Council, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. Hello, my name is Drew Combs, and I'm Mayor of Menlo Park for 2021. I'd like to introduce city staff and city council members present. Vice Mayor Betsy Nash, council members Ray Mueller, Cecilia Taylor, and Jim Willison. Staff present include City Manager Starla Joan Robinson, City Attorney Nair Doherty, City Clerk Judy Herron, and the city's Police Chief David Norris. City Clerk Herron, would you please provide instructions to City Council and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Mayor Combs. And again, echoing the welcome to our special City Council meeting of July 29th. From members of the City Council, we ask that you keep your webcams engaged for the duration of the meeting, controlling your own microphones. Staff will engage their webcams and microphones to make presentations as well as answer any questions the City Council may have. For members of the public who wish to speak on tonight's study session item, after the mayor calls for public comment, we ask that you engage that hand feature in the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, you may press *9 at that time. That does conclude my introductions at this time. Mayor Combs, you may continue.
Thank you, City Clerk Herron. Study sessions are an opportunity for city staff to introduce an item that will require policy direction from the City Council in the near future. City staff will provide a brief presentation. I will then call for public comment. After public comment, the City Council will discuss the matter interactively with staff. The City Council will not take an action on items addressed in the study session. The Council may provide direction to city staff for preparation of additional analysis or information necessary when the item returns to the City Council for action. With that, we have the one item on the agenda, community conversation on reimagining police services. Here to introduce the item is Police Chief David Norris.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I have been looking forward to this conversation, as you all have, for quite some time. Just to frame it up a little bit, I'll be making a presentation. I wish it was more brief, but obviously we have a lot of ground to cover. I'm going to do the best I can to get expeditiously through that so that we can get to comments and then questions from council. I'd like to share my screen at this time and get things started. So give me one moment to get that going. Okay, hopefully you all can see my first slide here.
Yes, thank you, Chief.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you all for the opportunity to come in and talk with you all about this. So I'm hoping that it will advance the slide. There we go. As the mayor just suggested, our format tonight will be a presentation followed by some public comment and then some council questions with what I'm sure will be some follow-up discussion and recommendations on future actions that we can take to give the community and the council the information that you all are looking for. So just as a couple of caveats on this, obviously this is something we're taking very seriously, and it's a very broad subject area that we're going to be talking about a lot of different things tonight. Obviously, we're not going to solve this whole question of police reform, progressive policing, reimagining public safety all in one night. But we are committed to following through on this. And I want to reassure the council that this is not a one-shot thing. We're not going to do this presentation and then feel like it's done. We know that this is going to take some time and that there are many, many topics and conversations that need to be covered. So we will be working through that. And then any questions that come up from either from the public or from the council that we're not able to immediately answer tonight, we're going to be tracking all of that, and we'll be putting something out transparently to our public next week in kind of a Q&A format to at least answer some of the questions that might require a little bit of extra review or some type of a deeper dive into any of those subject areas. So Just a brief overview of what I'm going to go over tonight. I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of the department right now. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our first 100 days here. We are just now, like, I think 1 week beyond my first 100 days in this department. Thrilled to be here. There's a lot of work that's been done, but there's a lot more to do. And then we're going to talk about this, the kickoff introduction to this discussion. We'll go through a couple of specific topic areas, and in terms of, you know, what questions I think we came in with that were generated last year during some of the community meetings, and then what the police department is doing now that speaks directly to reform progressive policing. And then what do we have that's kind of on the docket for us? What's in progress and within easy reach? And then we'll talk about some future considerations. Following that, I want to just give a brief overview to council of some of the structured conversations that we have planned. This is an including but not limited to type of discussion, where we're going to talk about how we kind of run our community through some of the operations and organization things that we do, but we will not be limiting ourselves to just that discussion. I'm sure that there will be questions that will generate other subject matters, and then we'll be looking for comments, questions, and feedback. So just a quick overview of the department right now. One of the things that we do know is that we've had some reductions in staff over this past year, and this just gives you a little bit of a picture of what that looks like. So I wanted to make sure that there's a distinction, that people understand the difference between what sworn staff and professional staff are. So in a police department, sworn staff are the police officers who are sworn to do those duties. So those are the folks who are armed and do have the powers of arrest. And then professional staff is everyone who we have here who is in support of that mission, that is not part of our sworn staff. So I just wanted to give a picture of that. And again, I'm going to go somewhat quickly through these. I know that we may want to dive back into some of this information later on. So just a quick snapshot of the diversity. I know that that's a question that's been asked. So I wanted to give you all a little bit of a picture of what we look like in terms of diversity, both diversity in terms of members of our department who are white versus diverse, as well as male versus female, because I think both of those things factor into the discussion here. So overall in the department, we are about 47% diverse, so 53% white, 47% diverse. In terms of our sworn staff, we are right around those numbers as well. So 43% diverse, which is a pretty solid number, but male to female, we've talked about this a little bit before, we're at 7% female, which we can do much better on. And we'll talk about how we might address that a little bit later on. The professional staff is a little bit higher on the diversity, 56% diverse, a little bit higher on the female, 83%, a lot higher. And then the command staff, I know that there are a lot of questions about command staff. So we're about 50% diverse right now and about 50% female. That command staff includes both sworn and professional members who are part of our management team here at Menlo Park PD. Leadership staff. So this is supervisor level and above from throughout the department, including professional and sworn staff. 38% diverse, 38% female. Obviously, those are numbers that are pretty good, but we might be able to do better. And then strictly our sworn supervision, sergeants and corporals, 29% diverse, 7% female. I think we can do better with those numbers as well, but I just want to give you all a picture of that. Here's a department overview, just kind of a grand 10,000-foot overview of how our department is broken up. So we have, originally we had two divisions, which were the special ops, which essentially most police departments call a support services division, and the patrol command, which is the officers in uniform, motorcycles, black and white cars, the things that you will see in the front line on the street. And then I've broken off a third section, which is our records and communications management. That position is a manager that oversees both our dispatch center and our records division. There are a number of things that are pretty high profile, including the oncoming RIPA movement that we're going to be doing to increase our data and our level of accountability, as well as encryption and some other issues that I know are going to be topical. I wanted to make sure that there was some direct connection between myself and the manager that oversees that division. A little bit about our workload at a glance. And again, I know this is a lot of information, but I just want to give you an idea. The middle numbers under the calls for service. So total incidents, about 39,000 to about 28,000 to 40,000 calls that are initiated. Total incidents, those are split between officer initiated, which we would consider kind of proactive calls, and public initiated. You can see on the far right side, fiscal year 2021. And we have these broken up with fiscal years because it made it easier for us to compare apples to apples, having just passed the end of June. So we wanted to be able to give you whole years for comparison. 7,700 officer initiated calls in this past year compared to what is typically a little bit over twice that amount in normal years. And there are several reasons behind that, and we can talk about that later on. Calls for service, so or calls into the dispatch center. This is just a number so that you all have an idea. 40 to 50,000 calls come into the dispatch center on any annual basis, and those are for a variety of things. They might be emergency calls, they might be calls from the staff to the dispatch center, and they might be non-emergency calls that are coming from the public. This past year, we had a lot of calls that were just COVID related that weren't really related to law enforcement, but people are curious. Or when there's a blackout, people call into the dispatch center, even though we can't necessarily do something about that. So that's how those numbers are generated. The total reports taken. So we wanted to do a little bit on the documentation. In a typical year, we see between 3,500 and 4,000 total reports taken, a little bit lower last year. The proactive policing, I think, had a little bit to do with the lower numbers in this past year. Total citations, obviously without a traffic unit, our citation numbers are way, way down. And those should bounce back as we start to put together a traffic unit with enforcement as one of its components. Total arrest numbers also down, also mainly due to a lower level of proactive policing. And then you can see the split between misdemeanor and felony arrest. It's around the typical ratio, which is which you can see it's usually pretty proportional. Much less on the felony arrest than the misdemeanor arrest. Those are much more prevalent. And then again, lots of this is data that we could dive deeper into and discuss more further, but I just want to give you a picture. A little bit about the crime picture, and we just did the last couple of years as a comparison, but I also have on this graph the past 5 years for you to look at, but pretty consistent numbers with the exception that 2019, 2020, our crime numbers overall were a little bit higher. Our violent crime numbers were pretty steady. So you think about people in shelter in place and lots of vehicle burglaries and other types of property crimes that have been occurring during that time, and you can see where there might be a slight flux. But right now, this past fiscal year compared to the fiscal year before, we're down a little bit in terms of all different crimes. I know this is a very busy slide. Part of this is just for a little bit of shock value for you all, but I'll explain. So I wanted to give you a picture of uses of force. I wanted you to have a picture of how few uses of force we actually have that go to supervisory review compared to the number of calls for service that we have. It's very, very small. And that's a testament to the officer's ability to, in most cases, de-escalate a call or de-escalate a contact, and also to the fact that most of the calls that we go on never even come close to anything that requires an officer to have an interaction like that. So the question might be asked of, well, are you underreporting those numbers? Is that what we're looking at? And that would be a natural question when you see such a large difference between the total number of uses of force and the total number of calls for service. And that's why I put these 9 items here. These are the 9 circumstances under which officers would be obligated to take this use of force to a supervisory review. You could see a pretty broad and varied set of circumstances. And then each of those uses of force, anything that meets any of those circumstances there, would require a supervisory review. And then that supervisor comes in and does a verbal and written report to the command staff, to the 2 commanders and the chief, to make sure that there aren't any training issues that need to be identified or any further investigation that needs to be done. So community engagement. I think that there's been a little bit of a picture painted by some, not all, that all Menlo Park Police is doing is going out onto the street and making stops and arrests. And nothing could be further from the truth. So obviously in this past year, the amount of contact that we've been able to make with the public has been lower for pandemic reasons and other reasons. But pre-pandemic times, we had a lot of things that we were doing to make sure that we were staying in touch, in tune, and engaging with our public. So this is a small list that shows some of those things that we have been doing, that we will be continuing to do and committed to do now that we're coming out to the backside of the pandemic and looking at how we can continue to engage with our public. I have a second slide on this that just adds a couple of different things. Community Police Academy being one of those that I know it's been mentioned a little bit in some of the public commentary already, and I know it's been part of some of the conversations that we've had. We are excited to bring that back as soon as we are able to bring that back. And in fact, I think that what we're going to be doing in some of these structured sessions to come will be a bit of a mini version of that Community Police Academy that we'll be able to bring through a presentation form. So first 100 days, what have we done as a team during this first 100 days? I had some ambitious goals. I think we've accomplished a lot. I wanted to have one-on-one meetings with every member of the organization. The pandemic really helped with that because I wasn't able to do the kind of community outreach that I would have liked to do also in my first 100 days. And so I scheduled every member of this organization, sworn and professional staff, with at least a 30-minute meeting. Most of those meetings ran to an hour, sometimes a little bit longer. I was able to get to know everybody in this organization, and I'm thrilled that I'm at an organization that's a little bit smaller than the one that I come from, so that I can have that kind of relationship with our staff. We have a lot of really good people here. I was also able to go over some of the numbers, budget, personnel, some of the objectives that we had. One of the things that I learned from staff early on was that they really wanted more in terms of communication. So communication from the top of the organization, communication about what was happening on the city level, what direction was being provided by council, what direction was being provided by city management and the administration in this department. So every Friday, the department gets an email from me that gives a little bit of a picture of what's happening and where we're going. And meetings with each of you as one-on-one meetings to get to know our city council and understand some of the individual needs. District elections are different for me. I come from a place that didn't have that, and so gaining an understanding of how tied you all are to the neighborhoods that you live in was really important to me. And then getting to know the city executive team. Obviously, anything that we do as a city, we have to do as a team, and so learning how to work together with the rest of city staff, and then some select one-on-ones with community members, which have been terrific. I hope to and plan to be doing lots more of those, but I've had some who reached out, and I've reached out to some, especially those who have ideas that are different from mine, because I really want to hear those. And then setting a structure, which is what we're doing here for public meetings and reimagining public safety conversations. A couple other things just real quickly that we did. One of the things that a chief of police wants to do is to be able to put their name and an endorsement on the policy manual. So as a committee, we went through all of the department policies. There are several that we as a committee, I grabbed a full cross section of the department to go through those policies that we have identified that need to be either revised or some small changes that we're making. So we're doing that, but I feel comfortable with the policies that we have and that we're headed in the right direction. And I'll be putting a chief's preface on our Lexipol policies, which this department hasn't done, at least in the last couple of iterations of our publicly viewable policy. We haven't had a page from the chief saying, that I endorse these policies in a message. And so I have a message that's constructed not just to our department, but the public, because these policies are now public, to give some direction. Some small organization adjustments. We talked about what I did with the records and dispatch manager, just making sure that we have the level of connectedness that we need, and making some small changes within the organization that I think we need to do for operations. And then identifying some of our short-term needs. We've talked about returning to normal workload post-pandemic, and obviously that level of proactivity is a reflection of the pandemic, but it's also a reflection of not having a stable police chief sitting in the office saying, okay, this is the direction that we're going in for a while. We have officers that have been here for 3 years and they're on their 4th police chief. So making sure that we set some direction and return to doing business the way that police should be doing business. Data and web presence. Obviously, you all know that I have a high emphasis on data, and that I'm interested in how we express ourselves on the web and making sure that that's user-friendly and able to be navigated by our public. And then standing up the traffic unit again, and then we have some things that are kind of on the early horizon promotional process that we'll need to do so that they understand what the new chief's direction is and expectations of leaders in the organization. And then some filling some staffing vacancies, which we're currently doing, and then getting something online for officer wellness and support. This was a difficult year for everyone, and for officers to have the exposure to the kind of discussions that have been had over this past year, and some of the polarizing rhetoric has really worn on them as well as it has on the public. And so we want to make sure we take care of both sides of that. All right, so here's kind of the meat and potatoes of what we want to at least start entering into, which is this reimagining public safety conversation. And I have 4 parts that I've broken up the next set of slides into. The first is what City Council's questions remain from the previous administration. And from that, I mean those meetings that were in the spring to early summer of last year, questions that were asked that I think are very answerable, that we should be answering. And then I'll run those by you all, and I'm sure that there'll be some feedback if there's anything that I'm missing. What is the police department doing now that meets some of these concerns, and what's planned for the immediate future? We'll talk about those. What's really kind of in our front view, windshield view that we think are attainable within this next year or so that we can do that further that initiative. And then we'll talk about some future things that we really need to talk about and figure out how we study those well, put together a good plan, and create an implementation that's sustainable, because I don't want to put Band-Aids on anything. All right, so some of the questions that I heard, and I took a lot of notes in the council meetings that I was able to look at from video from last year. I know there's an interest in data tracking, especially on stops and detentions, and then even recently we've talked about use of force and data tracking on that. Trust concerns, profiling, over-policing, racial bias, those are, obviously hot topics that a lot of people have been talking about and this community has been talking about. And so we want to explore that. And then especially the unreported issues. And I know Councilmember Taylor and I have talked about that quite a bit, and we want to find some ways that we can address that. Complaint tracking, early warning systems almost run part and parcel with that, but they do have some of their own independent pieces that we should talk about. Level of community engagement, and what I was hearing was, both from the city and from the police department. What's the level of community engagement? How much are we gathering up that interaction from our community? And then questions about the Chiefs Advisory Board. We do have a group that is a Chiefs Advisory group, but there was a lot of questions about, how transparent is it? How much has it been brought forward to the rest of the community? So how we address that in the future, I think, is a big topic that we should be tackling. Body-worn cameras came up. Obviously, Menlo Park PD is an early adopter of body-worn cameras. We've been doing it for a long time, but we're interested in taking the temperature and saying, this is what we're doing now. This is our process. How are we doing? Resource deployment, industry standards for police staffing. We talked a lot about population, like sworn officers to population ratio, workload ratios. All of those things I think should be discussed. And then review and analysis of service delivery and alternatives with some quality assurance. So how do we find different ways that we can alleviate the officers having to do more than they're capable of doing with the many hats that they wear, and how do we assure that that's a sustainable solution? All right, so here's another slide that's strictly for shock value. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, so don't worry too much. What's the police department doing right now? So one of the big things that's being done, and it's part of a legislated requirement, is our policy manual is online, which is great because it allows for our community to take a look at our policy, ask important questions. They can send us emails. They can call us, and they can ask questions if they have questions about our policy, and we should be dedicated to answering as much of that as possible. The second part of this slide, and I just wanted to make sure that you all have an idea. So SB 230 is some recent legislation that is passed. The governor has signed it. It has been implemented. There are 20 distinct areas that are laid out in SB 230 that change the way that we lay out our policy and that we train our personnel. And those 20 different pieces speak to a lot of the police reform. And so the reason that I put this up here for illustration is that a lot of the discussion that's on the national narrative right now talks about required de-escalation. They talk about crisis intervention. They talk about required training for use of force, making sure that there are policies in place, making sure that there are mechanisms for complaints, ensuring that there's proper training for supervision, evaluation, review, and oversight of any incidents that are higher liability, periodic updates, the special people like children, the elderly, the disabled, and how we address those folks when we are in the midst of some type of police action. All of those things are enumerated in this SB 230 legislation. And so we in California are way ahead of the game in terms of a lot of the pieces that are on the national narrative. And I just wanted that to be put out there for your further information and for discussion, that there are a lot of things that are legislated in right now that we are incorporating with our policy, we're incorporating with our training, and that we are getting done like all the other agencies in California are, to get in line with some of the expectations that are happening nationally. What's the police department doing right now? Part 2. So I have 2 documents here on the right-hand side of your slide here. These 2 documents represent the exact same 24-hour period here in Menlo Park. The top document is straight from our open data portal that shows the computer dispatch calls for service for that 24-hour period. And the second one is the police log that's sent out an email every day to subscribers. And the reason that I put those 2 things there is that I want to illustrate that somewhere in between these 2 things is really what we should be giving our public on a daily basis, right? There is not nearly enough in that second document that expresses what our officers are doing. And there's not enough detail in that first document to really give anybody an idea of what's happening. So somewhere in between those 2 is a solution. We have a committee here that we're working on, and then we're going to be looking for input as well from the community on what types of things they're looking for. But I want you all to know that this is all publicly available, but how we make it publicly available, like, that's the trick. And that's the piece that we really need to work on. So the other piece, public records transparency. Obviously, we have the open data portal and this activity log, and we're looking for the right fit. We also know that there are a lot of laws that govern public data and public records transparency, such as SB 1421 and AB 748, both pieces of legislation that make certain critical incidents much more open to the public. And those things are legislated, but those things are, people are talking about nationwide and saying, hey, we want you to be doing this. California's already doing it. So there's some reassurance there. We need to re-engage with our public engagement now that we are getting to the post-pandemic era. We really want to be able to get out into public more. We're going to be having some visits on National Night Out. But we're in a little bit of a COVID uptick, and so there's some hesitation right now. But we do have some things planned for October that we're hoping that we'll see some room there to do some additional kind of broader themed community events. And in the meantime, we're looking to do as much engagement as possible. We have a workload study planned that we want to look at our workload and compare that to staffing levels. But again, I think I've mentioned this in some earlier meetings. We really, we don't know what this workload looks like until we get through some period of time post-pandemic and really see what that return to normalcy looks like. with less personnel than we had before. So we're cognizant of that, but we're trying to tee up these workload studies so we can get you data. And then transparency in the website review. I really want to make sure that we go soup to nuts through our entire web page presence to make sure that what we're providing our public is right for our public and it's a right fit and it answers the questions that it needs to answer. All right, so what kinds of things are realistic and within reach? I think, what we're doing with that website revamp to create some type of a public dashboard and publicly accessible information is critical and crucial. The daily activity report and what that looks like some short time from now compared to what it currently looks like. We hope to be able to provide better, cleaner, more digestible information for our public. And then mitigating police response. This is a hot topic, right? Response to mental health concerns, response to homelessness calls, how we do that in a team operation with the resources that are available to us and what we might be able to do in the future. That's something that will be in regular discussions that we see in the near future. Measures to reduce the need for armed response. We talked about this a little bit in the discussion about community service officers, but I know that I've heard the code enforcement team brought up on a couple of occasions in conversation as well. And I know that somewhere in there, I think we can expand our non-sworn response and find ways to mitigate that. And then online reporting, I know Councilmember Taylor and I have had some extensive conversations about how we can make that more inviting to folks that would like to report online and more accessible to those that need it. And then the last part is sort of a reinventing of this Chiefs Advisory Board. I have tentatively labeled this a community police advisory team. I'm looking for input on that. What we'd like to do is to have something that's community centered, that is getting great feedback from the community, but partnered with police. The officers from our Police Officers Association are very interested in being at the table for this conversation and participating fully. And we have some really good, sharp young officers that really want to engage in this conversation. So I would like to see that as a group at a table having that conversation. But obviously the transparency and the accountability part of that is really important for future. So what does the future hold? These are some things that are a little bit further off in the distance. I know that we've had some conversations about first response with social workers or some other type of first responder team that is non-police. There are some entities out there that do that, but it does require some study, some transition planning, and some implementation if we're going to look at that. There's a really good co-response model, just as an example, that's being looked at by 3 or 4 of our major cities here on the peninsula. But they've been looking at that now for almost a year, and we are still in the setup and implementation phase. And so, in that sense, we know that it's going to take some time to get that type of model going. I really prefer the co-response model, and I'll briefly explain why. That most of the people involved in social services that we have that are great partners to police, folks from San Mateo County Behavioral Health Recovery Services who handle most of our mental health response, folks from our medical services who handle some of these medical issues, and even our homeless advocates and affiliates. They all want a scene secure from police under most conditions before they will go in and make that interactive contact. So we need to figure out what that looks like, and we just want to make sure that we take our time to do that correctly. We've talked about traffic enforcement and some alternatives to traffic enforcement. Again, I think that's a really important place to have a discussion. If we're going to talk about alternatives, then we should talk about all different types of alternatives, not just in the behavior of our officers, but also technology and how that might help us. Alternative interventions instead of arrest, that's come up several times. Actually, it's come up on some of the comments for this meeting. What we have done in the past at the youth juvenile level is we've had diversion programs, we've had some restorative justice programs. There are some workable models there that we might be able to expand out. And we know that county has some resources to do some of those things as well. So we are interested in exploring some of those things. And then use of technology, whether that is some type of photo enforcement to help alleviate the number of traffic stops, or whether that is license plate readers and what we might do, closed circuit video. I know we've had some conversations about if we're going to implement that, we need to implement that evenly, throughout our jurisdiction, and we shouldn't be focusing on any particular area without any kind of good reason. And so those are conversations that we need to have. Okay, so this is the part about the community conversations. Again, some structured conversations that we can have to help tee up this discussion, including but not limited to, right? We are going to include these things, but we're not limiting ourselves to some other subject areas that the council or the community think are really important. But we want to provide a broad overview of how we do things, how we do business, what we do. And we envision 3 sessions like that, one covering our organization, one covering operations, and one covering accountability. I'm going to briefly go through those in just a moment. But we want to provide a better, more informative view of what the department does, generate some questions, and look for some common themes and some common goals out of what the public is looking for. And then the formation of that community police advisory team, and however that looks. I know that we've had some initial conversations. Our department is exploring what some of the other cities are doing so that we can come back and give you an idea of what some other cities are doing, what some of the best practices are, and come up with a really good plan. So a little bit about what we might do with an organization overview. So we would talk about staffing, the org chart, but we'll talk about operations and how each of the components of the department work, and then budget. I know that budget in terms of salaries, in terms of overtime, operational costs, training, those have all been topics that have come up. So we want to go through some of that, and then workload. Hopefully by the time we get to the organization overview, we're going to have some initial numbers on workload, and we can give you an idea of what that looks like. There are some really good benchmarks that are out there for some parts of this, and there are some real mystery with other parts of this. So that officer ratio of sworn officers per 1,000 population is kind of all over the board. But there are some golden ratios like the 60-40 ratio that are well tested, tried and true. And there's a professor at Sacred Heart University, I think his name is Jim McCabe, who has done studies for the International City Managers Association in the past and continues to do these studies and continues to consult with this data. So we know that it's a good theme. On 60% of your sworn staff that are operational should be assigned to patrol, and 40% to specialties, and then 60% of the time that officers are spending may be dedicated to their calls for service and peripheral needs with the calls for service, and 40% of that time should be proactive time so that they can either do proactive enforcement, engage with the community, do other things in a high exposure manner. And so we want to talk about all those things. Operational overview, this would be kind of the how we do it, right? We talk about a couple of different themes: traffic and parking, crime trends, crime control approach, how we look at the data-informed policing, public engagement and communications, how we interact with our public, both one-way information that we push out and two-way engagement, special relationships, schools, institutions, major employers, and other facilities that require special relationships, other resources that require those relationships. So how we interact with some of the county resources, and then emergency planning. I know that's been a topic as well. And I know that we still have some ways to go to figure out exactly what that emergency planning picture looks like, but we're obviously going to be part of that discussion. And then public transparency, what we're doing through that webpage to display what we're doing to our public and make it meaningful. And then finally, and I think this is one of the most important ones, and I'm only 2 slides away, Mr. Mayor, from being done here, so we're getting close. The preparation and accountability. So how we engage in recruiting for new personnel, how we hire those personnel, what that looks like, a little bit of a picture of the timeline, because people, I think, don't realize how long it takes to get a person fully in that seat, off probation, driving around in a patrol car on the street. And that's 18 to 24 months in a lot of cases, and that's a long time. So how we plan for that, because sometimes vacancies happen and you have to anticipate them. So we want to talk about all of that. We want to talk about the extensive training that occurs from that period of hiring to the time that they're off probation. And we also want to talk about the continuous professional training that occurs. So as our officers become part of our department, part of our team here, what we do to keep them up with training, how that is required by the state, and then what we do above and beyond as well to make sure our officers are as trained as possible. Policy and oversight. Police officers go out on the street. Our patrol guys are leaving momentarily to go out for their night shift. They're going to work 12 hours, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Probably 11 of those hours they might be doing with no direct supervision, right? They're out on patrol. So how we send those officers out with the right framework and the right decision-making skills to do that job, I think it's important that we express that to our community. And then the complaint process. I know we've had a lot of discussions about complaint process, and I think we'll have a lot more. We have some concerns about if a complaint process isn't set up in a way that's inviting to our public, then we need to fix that. And we also need to be as transparent about our complaints as we can with our public. And then the big mysterious area of investigation of complaints and discipline, to the best degree that we can, we will give you a picture of how that works, what's reportable, what we have that has to be confidential by law, so that there's a clear picture for our community of how that all works. So this is what I'm looking for in feedback. I know that we've got a little bit of ways to go because we've got some public commentary, and I know that we'll have some questions. But I'd like to figure out, what the format and timing of these planned structured conversations are. I would love for it to be in some way a community meeting so that we could have interactive programs with our public, and not just public comment and then have to take it back. So how do we do that? We are interested also in in any suggestions for follow-up study sessions. So there will be topics that are going to come up. The Racial Identity Profiling Act will come up. There's information that came out on that this week. There's a lot of curiosity going on about it. Community Police Advisory Team is really a priority. I would love to get some direction on how we proceed with that so that we can get that in place. But I had a conversation with a couple of you about the fact that I didn't want to get in front of that. I didn't want to make some kind of decision and say, okay, we've got this and we're up and running, and then have there be some concerns from council. So I really want this to be a collaborative process, something that you all can get behind as well as we can. So those are some of the high points that I'm looking for. With that, I know that I went a little bit longer than I had hoped to go, but that's all I have for the presentation. So now we can take it back.
Thank you, Chief Norris, and you're totally fine. Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it. My council colleagues appreciate it, and the residents appreciate it. So, I think that sort of broad, relaying of information is important. And so we're all working from, at least to some degree, the same foundation as we begin this conversation. And again, there are three sort of key parts of that. There are the police department, which we got as the kickoff for this discussion in your presentation. There is the community, which we will get very soon with regards to public comment, and then of course there is the council discussion direction, which will be obviously a central part of where we go from here. What are the next steps? So again, your presentation was a key foundational part for us then being able to move into those other aspects of this process and of this session. With that, I'm going to bring on the city clerk to call for public comment. I will say, just as to know that I do think it's important, and this is generally the case in Menlo Park, but it is, we know that these are passionate topics and issues as they should be, and that and as a result people are passionate in their comments. I will ask that be mindful of being respectful in your engagement with staff, with me and my council colleagues, and again with the police chief. we're all here in service of the community, and I think we're all working to the same aim and the same goal, to have a police department that we think represents us, that we can be even prouder of than we are now, and to have an engagement with that police department that I think reflects our values. So with that, I will will ask for the city clerk to call for public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to speak on our study session item C1, community conversation on reimagining police services, please engage that hand feature in the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, you may press *9 now. And our first speaker will be Lynn Bramlett.
Good evening, Council. I'm Lynn Bramlett, District 3 resident, and also the president of MPC Ready, a community-based organization. MPC Ready focuses on helping families, neighborhoods in our community to be prepared for disasters with the knowledge and supplies to be self-sufficient until outside help can arrive. Many groups like MPC Ready have an official reporting into a city's police department or an in-house emergency manager. To start fostering closer ties, I and another board member met recently with Police Chief Norris. Chief Norris was most receptive to our ideas, and we appreciated what we heard from him. Frankly, I found him a breath of fresh air in terms of his proactive and forward-thinking perspective on policing and attitude towards working with a community-based organization. I'm very much looking ahead to the future. Switching topics, I will now speak as a resident in District 3. I personally value having a police department. If someone is breaking into my home, I want to be able to call the police and to know that someone will come. I also want the police officers and employees to feel valued and respected and to enjoy working in Menlo Park. I would also like to make it easier for our police officers and staff to live in Menlo Park if they would like to do that. I hope that the housing element update can include an initiative aimed at that goal. Of course, I read the papers and I do attend meetings, and I realize that reform is needed. I think tonight we heard a very constructive and open approach toward that. I hope that we can continue a fact-based, constructive, and collaborative approach to working together to make our community better here in Menlo Park. And I welcome the new chief.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Jeff Fenton.
Hello, this is Jeff Fenton. I apologize, I don't know the number of the district where I live, but I do know it's Councilmember Muller's district. Two things. What explains the decrease in the staff in the police department? Was it budget cuts, or was it officers resigning? And if it was officers resigning, was there any common thread in why they resigned that can be taken as a lesson learned to help rebuild staffing and to provide an input to the budget discussion that would probably have to be part of that? And secondly, the last police chief who was not interim, there was a community meeting during which he resigned during that meeting abruptly. And I don't recall seeing any news reports about why he resigned and whether he provided any kind of a report or recommendations that would be helpful to his successor. Did former Chief Bertini, when he abruptly resigned, provide any reason why? Did he provide any recommendations for improvement, any lessons learned that our new chief and present city council and city staff could take as part of the overall effort to reimagine policing?
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Vicky Robledo. And Vicky, you'll have to unmute your end. Okay, Vicky, it looks like you may not have an engaged microphone. So I will come back to you after our next speaker, which is Katie Baruzzi.
Hi, this is Katie Baruzzi. I serve on the Complete Streets Commission, but I'm speaking as a private citizen. And I'm going to speak about something very specific, which is bikes, which is what got me originally involved in the city. My son is a cyclist, and I want to give props to whichever staff member I worked with recently after his bike was stolen at Hillview. I really appreciated how thorough the follow-up was from the PD and what a great job they did when they took the report and, really felt heard and supported and, got a lot of attention, and I appreciate that. I would say, though, I would love to see, as a cyclist, as a parent, as an advocate for safer community streets, I would love to see more of our officers out on bikes. E-bikes, if necessary, but it's a really different perspective of how the streets work. What feels safe, what feels unsafe, especially for some of our most vulnerable citizens, which are the kids who don't yet have driver's licenses and are using bikes to get to school every day or to get to their friends' houses. And I also, along the same lines, and this is a small detail, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, I would love to see our officers role modeling the kinds of behavior that they expect us to follow. So unfortunately, frequently when I encounter a police car, a Menlo Park police vehicle, it feels sort of scary, actually, to be honest, like often driving faster maybe than the speed limit, not always using turn signals, sort of sunglasses, immovable face, not a lot of eye contact. So when you talk about community outreach, those events are great, but I just think on a day-to-day basis, the impression that your officers are making from the vehicles, I would just love to see more of more connection in that degree. And again, sort of role modeling the following the speed limit, using turn signals, not accidentally swerving into the bike lane, which happened to my husband really recently on Ravenswood with an officer who was holding a cell phone in their hand. So that's another one, actually, like maybe not using devices while driving if at all possible. Those are not always easy behaviors for us to role model for our kids. But I really appreciate, again, when I see officers of the law setting great examples and just sort of being more friendly and accessible to the community. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for all you do. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you for your comment. I'm going to be returning to Vicky Robledo. Vicky, are you able to engage your microphone? Vicky, I apologize for the glitch that we're having here. I am going to go to our next public commenter, and Vicky, I will return to you following our next speaker, which is Pam Jones.
Hello, this is Pamela Jones, a resident in Menlo Park. Been here since '73. Family's been on the peninsula since 1927. And Chief Norris, I just thank you so much for your such a fresh a breath of fresh air, and I'm very hopeful. I have a couple of comments, and even though we may not have had a fatal event recently, there is still an urgency. We've been having this discussion more recently and very formally since June of last year. But if you want to have more information, all you have to do is look at the visiting process in 2013. We have said what the problem is, and we have said what we have wanted, and we have also talked about what we're able to do as residents. The second thing is that it's been 2 years since there has been a report on how the officers are doing after they had their mindfulness training. And 2 years ago, was 88% that had completed the training. And maybe that has an effect on why there hasn't been more complaints. I mean, I would like to think that there's a correlation, but, who knows? But it'd be nice to have a report, and also a reminder that mindfulness is an ongoing process. It doesn't end when the program ends. And the reason I'm being so bold on this is I have been since the beginning. I have supported it. I think it is just an amazing opportunity for people to have a different kind of life outside of the stress that the type that goes with the job. The last thing I'd like to say is that it is extremely difficult to address a problem when not all the staff believe there is a problem, and that's specific to racism. And if their staff, regardless of whether it's police or regular city staff, if they don't understand the nature of racism, if they don't believe me when I say I have been discriminated against because of my color, then it's saying that I don't have value. And I think that's the biggest piece that's a challenge for residents, is when they're feeling like they don't have value. But again, I'm very hopeful. I want to thank the council for pushing forward on this process. And yeah, and that's all I have to say. And I still have 16 minutes, no, 14. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Vicky, I'm going to return to you. See if you're able to connect with your microphone. Not yet. Okay. So our next public commenter will be Josue Moreno Silva.
Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All righty. So I am a resident of the Menlo Park Ravenswood area, very near Bellhaven Middle School, or excuse me, elementary and middle school. And, Katie brought up a good point, that it feels very scary every once in a while when I see the police. I'm a young, somewhat well-spoken young man, and it just feels a little bit scary when I see police officers around here. I understand they're doing their job, and I understand that it is a very difficult job. But I do feel as though I am being discriminated against, and I don't want it to feel like that. So my question to the council is, what are the plans as far as outreach to the community in this area, very specifically? Because as far as like everything that's been going on, it seems like it's very downtown, and it's somewhat out of the way for people like myself, people like my cousins, or even my neighbors, to reach that kind of area. So there's nothing bad that I have to say, mostly, other than, don't make it seem scary. I genuinely do believe that the police are a great resource for basically everything, but it just seems like the people in this area aren't able to go to them without feeling that kind of fear. And I just kind of want to know what's going on with the rest of that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next public commenter is Sudie Tronson.
Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Council and Chief Norris, for taking the critical step of engaging and your openness to reform. I've already provided 2 very long submissions of questions and comments, so I will try not to repeat those, and they are already public. And I do welcome the opportunity to engage further. As we reimagine, we must also be ready to reevaluate every assumption. So I have offered the following only in the best interest of our community. So as we do that, we need to question topics that are otherwise uncomfortable. As we discuss reform, it would be good to know what current police reforms being discussed by our legislative bodies does Menlo Park support. Examples include AB 655, SB 2, AB 392, and AB 230. What type of work is suitable and what is not suitable for police? For example, response for wellness checks, mental health, schools are better suited for those with a direct training for those issues. The next is funding, and I don't really know the answer to this question for Menlo Park. Many cities, unfortunately, are acquiring military-style gears which have no place in our community. How does Menlo Park fit into that? Technology is great, but we also know that it can be used not for the good. What companies we are providing these technologies from? Who are we getting these from? For example, ShotSpotter, which is not on the city's website, but it was reported in 2013 that would be used, has been caught altering evidence from gunshot detecting AI. Is Menlo Park using ShotSpotter? Racial bias is a huge problem. We already know that, hopefully all of us. The RIPA Board's 2021 annual report, which was just published, also identified other great problems regarding non-gender conforming and transgender men and women when it comes to arrests and what happens after the arrest, the search, and so on. So as we study these, I would really welcome to also making sure that we include racial bias, but also these other forms of identities that are skewed in terms of how they are treated by our police departments. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your comment. And our next speaker, I'll be returning to Vicky Robledo.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Chief Norris, for the presentation. I just wanted to say that, you know, as it is right now, I think we have to do a lot of healing in our community because of a separatism of our community and the police. I mean, I'm happy that I can call the police when I need them and hope that I'll survive any confrontation. That's the goal. But one of my feelings is that I think we need to go back to a little bit of volunteer patrol. And not necessarily volunteer on the police part, but getting volunteers to work with the police so that they can build the trust with the police department and the community. And I think if our police officers wouldn't be back for their physical fitness, would be on bikes, on foot, walking through our communities, getting to know the community so that we can build that trust again, because that's critical. The other thing, let me first say that also, my name is Vicky. I'm from Belhaven. I'm on the CEOC commission, but I'm speaking on behalf of a resident of Belhaven. My other comment is, why can't we conduct surveys for our residents on what they feel the police department, imagining it for the coming years would be, and that includes youth, maybe 16 and over, and adults to give input on how they envision the police department. Cameras. Are police always wearing cameras and are they always working? My other concern is alternatives to arrest, by all means, having them do community service with nonprofits that have a big impact, like maybe Life Moves, Rebuilding Together, Yucca. The other thing is community conversations should also include youth when it comes to imagining our police department. Police staff volunteering in the community as well. They are our public servants. They should know our community organizations. They should work with them. They should volunteer like I volunteer. And then last but not least, accountability on everything that we say and the input that we offer. and the wonderful slide presentation. Who is going to follow up that our input is going to be listened to, and that the plan that the city has or the chief of police has, who's going to hold them to making sure that these things are taking place from the plan that he's put together. But most importantly, I think really getting our police out on the in the community on foot, on bikes, and really getting to know their communities so that we don't feel threatened, and using our police substations more often in Belhaven and other locations. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Seamless Bay Area, and we ask that you provide your name at the beginning of your comment if possible.
All right, this is Adina Levin, and I apologize. I didn't correctly double log out, and so it showed up as Seamless Bay Area. Adina Levin, Menlo Park resident. I'm on the Police Streets Commission, but speaking for myself. For the gentleman who asked about the police chief resigning, I watched the city council meeting where that happened, and there were a number of community members who had spoken up in the wake of a lot of the demonstrations, and speaking, having the courage to talk about their personal experiences of racial profiling, where they were pulled over by police for, doing nothing in particular. One person talked about going over to visit a friend that was having a mental health crisis in a white part of town and getting stopped by police for not belonging. People who talked about youth or teenagers getting pulled over on a regular basis. And some city council members expressed empathy with the community members who were courageously reporting on those experiences. And that was where the police chief felt unsupported by the community, by the council listening to the community. So I am glad to have the council listening to the community and look at how we can approach policing and public safety in a different manner. And in terms of not doing that kind of racial profiling, we hear from our friends in East Palo Alto and have some concerns about what MPPD may be, what service they may be providing over in East Palo Alto. The other thing in terms of looking at the role of policing is the idea that we as a culture have typically used police whenever there is any kind of emergency. And sometimes these are not a kind of emergency that police are the best suited for. So one is, I'm glad to hear that in the police approach that there might be openness to looking at what these options are. I would urge the city to have a roadmap approach, because there might be some things that we can do sooner and some things that can do later, and keep that in mind in terms of moving towards where we want. And the biggest picture is starting with a view of what public safety is. What kinds of harms do we need to deal with, and what kinds of harms that we might be able to use resources to help prevent. So thanks very much to the City Council for taking this on, and look forward to participating in this process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Phil, MPK.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I want to thank, I'm Joe Barr, and I live in Menlo Park. I've been here for a while. I want to thank the mayor, Combs, and Vice Mayor Nash, and the council for even hosting this event tonight. And I appreciate your support for our community in that way. I want to give kudos to Police Chief Norris on his presentation tonight. Not that it solves all of our problems, but it definitely was thorough and very informative and great additive to the conversation. So sort of distilling this down, and my concern My concern is public safety, and that should be the #1 priority. And since I'm a senior, I'm really concerned about the seniors here in Menlo Park and our public safety. So public safety to me is just being able to live here without any sort of threats or crime or being hurt. And what I'm concerned about is that we're getting more and more buildings. There'll be that's residential that will be coming in, and commercial is being added. And I know that the police or that the council had to make a hard decision last year to reduce the staff and reduce the funding for police. And I understand that you had to weigh some hard choices. So that's what it was. But I think that we're going to need more police because we'll have more square footage of buildings to be policing, and there'll be more people once this pandemic's over. So with that, I've been here 31 years and I've seen this place change so dramatically. And it's not as safe, and it's not the village or community that we had 31 years ago, but it's still a great place to live. I love Menlo Park. So the solutions, I think, that we're talking about should be tailored to Menlo Park and our community. And I really don't want the solutions to be just sort of misdirected toward national problems or world problems, but how can we be a community here in Menlo Park and really have that empathy that some of the council members have toward all people, and I appreciate that. And so that's my my request, and those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Kathleen Daly.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, hi, Kathleen Daly, owner of Cafe Zoe in Menlo Park. I don't live in Menlo Park, but I spend a good portion of my time there, so I'm going to consider myself a resident. I've had the great opportunity of working and employing a number of young people of color. And I also come from a perspective of having family members with mental illness and developmental disabilities. So I look at the police force and I look at the service that they provide, and I ask myself a few questions and wonder how we can make the appropriate changes. I'm not about defunding the police. I'm about reforming the police and aspects of what police officers do on a daily basis, asking what we as a society put on them from a mental capacity, what it must be like to get into a car or answer a call and know that anything could possibly happen. So I think we need to recognize what happens or what might go through the minds of a police officer and make sure that we take care of them. So when I think about police reform, I think about mental health. I think about some of the programs that have been launched around the country that look at bringing mental health professionals into the police force. I think it's more than just, some random training. I think having the assistance of mental health professionals when they go out on certain calls would be a big benefit. And I think it would actually help the force. And I think the biggest reason for wanting to speak up tonight has to do with the fact that we live in the Bay Area of the United States of America. We have the ability to figure this out. We should be figuring it out. We're the Bay Area. I mean, we can do these kinds of things. We can do these studies. We can reach out to the universities and the people that are willing to step forward and help. And I think we can do this and we should do this because I think we're affecting the lives of not only the young people of color that are, emotionally and traumatized by feeling like every time they see a police officer, they could die. And more importantly, and then again, a police officer who goes into a call and wonders if he's going to come out alive. I think it's a important part of looking at society and people as a whole and just saying, hey, we need to take care of everybody. And it includes everyone. And I think we can do this. And I applaud the council, and I really hope that you move this forward in a way that helps the new chief. And see you National Night Out on Tuesday. Bye.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Kevin Gallagher.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for holding the session. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and for the community to be involved kind of from the get-go in shaping this process. That's really exciting for me. A couple different kind of unrelated comments and questions. I'd love to hear more about what we're thinking in terms of community engagement. Also, I wasn't here for the beginning, so some of these things may already have been said. But I get the impression that there will be these 3 study sessions happening and then some sort of community engagement in addition to that, I think. So I'd just love to hear more about what our plans are for engaging as much of our community as possible. I think it's worth doing that and getting as many people as can be involved. How can we meet our different parts of our city, where they are? I don't know if it'll be possible to do any sort of like in-person meetings or events in the next year. But, do these conversations only need to be held within the mechanism of city council meetings, or can we kind of broaden our scope and make them more accessible and be proactive about really getting as many people involved as possible? I think that's really important. In terms of guiding like our focus and our planning, I don't think we can get too basic. I think it would be great for us to spend some time defining public safety, what it means to us, and working from a shared definition. I think that's a vital first step in coming up with some sort of vision as well for what we want public safety in Menlo Park to look like, and then starting to work on how do we get there. And I think if we can have a shared definition and some sort of vision statement, that those could be really great accountability metrics as well. Once we actually start this work, things for us to look back on and say, are we doing what we said we were going to do? Are we being successful or not? Just asking a lot of really, basic questions that may or may not be obvious. Obviously, we're talking about policing mostly. So how does our police department contribute to public safety? How does our police department detract from public safety? Do we have ways to evaluate those things? Do we have access to data that we can use to guide our planning? Obviously, a lot of the subtext of these conversations is a lot of what we're talking about is distrust in police. I think it's really important to take a historical look at that and not to just look at distrust in the present moment and say, kind of, how can we solve this problem? I think it's important to look more broadly at, where has this come from? I think I've mentioned before, but for me, Menlo Park is a very residentially segregated community. And I think it's really vital for us to look at the police's role in, maintaining or not that residential segregation. I think that's a really vital lens to take. And yeah, I hope that we're able to have discussions like those as this process unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And our next speaker will be Paul Kick.
Okay. Hi. First off, I want to say thanks to Vice Mayor Betsy Nash for meeting with us, my little neighborhood group at Nealon Park the other day, where we expressed some concerns about both parents and young adults and teenagers not exactly following all the rules. As we want the park available to everybody, but those of us who live right next to it would like the park to actually close sometimes, especially when we're trying to sleep. So thank you very much, Betsy, for showing up with us. We also expressed some sincere concerns about the number of non-residents and homeless people who are affecting our safety and our neighborhood over here. And we used to love it when the police department, would come to the local coffee shop because there was a presence in our neighborhood And we understand they're understaffed, and we've heard all of the great comments tonight about how we need to get the police to be visible. And our particular group don't worry about interactions with the police. We love interactions with the police, and we'd like to see them come to our neighborhood quite a bit. And again, thank you very much, all of you, for listening and wanting to make Menlo Park better than it is and as wonderful as we always remember it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to comment on our study session this evening, please engage that hand feature in the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in from a landline or a cell phone, you may press *9 now. And our next speaker will be Gail.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Yes, I want to thank the council and the police chief for the hard work that they put in on this. I see the police chief is making a sincere effort. I have some remaining concerns. One is that I tried to look up what you do if you have a mental health issue, how you get access to a mental health person, and it appears that this is not available 24/7. And so the default is the police, and this needs to change. I think mental health needs to be more available. I also have concerns that I know that the Menlo Park Police, at least in the past, said that they do not rule out turning people over to ICE. Whether it's the fault of this police department or not, there's a widespread feeling that any contact with the police, if you're undocumented, could get you deported. And I think that this really puts a damper on, the community, a lot of the community wanting to report crime or contact or have doings with the police. And that's unfortunate. I also belong to a group. I'm a co-chair of the Social Justice Task Force of San Mateo County Democracy for America. We have a very strong policy and very high concern about the use of tasers. It doesn't seem that Menlo Park police are abusing them or using them to kill people, but just be aware they have killed people and they're quite dangerous to people with a wide variety of pre-existing conditions. And we also, if you are still using facial recognition, the entire human rights community has strong reservations about that technology because it's known to be extremely inaccurate aside from being invasive. Otherwise, much of what you said is very encouraging, and I encourage you to continue on this path. I would also say that racial bias is hard to get rid of. I work for racial justice. I spend a lot of time on it, and I still know that I instinctively don't react well to people who are not well-spoken and look a lot different than I do. So we all have a job to do. And thank you for your work.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Tracy Van Hook.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van Hook. I am a resident of Belhaven neighborhood. I am speaking for myself. I also have a business or a nonprofit in the area that supports aging well in the Belhaven area and just underserved communities. I'm really calling in to thank you all for this forum, and also thank you so much, Police Chief Norris, for your presentation. This will be a pretty quick comment. I just want to say I'm excited about the reimagining the public safety in in the Belhaven area. I've been a resident here for, I think, about 12 years. And I have experienced a few things that are of concern, but what I really wanted to say that as we start to imagine the budget and go through what we are going to budget for, I think it's really important that we really consider our community as a part of, as a huge voice in making the decisions on what we believe our budget should be allocated for. So, or the community, or at least an advisory board, I think would be really important to speak to our community and find out what exactly what's happening, not just make an assumption on what we think. It's really important to speak to the people of the community. Again, I definitely appreciate this. I'm excited to see where we could go, and then where we come from, or where we go with this. But really, please, let's make sure that we consider our community and speak to them and find out what's really needed when we make our decisions on where the budget should go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So this will be the final call for public comment on item C1. And our final speaker will be Alejandro Vilches.
Thank you. My name is Alejandro Vilches. Been a resident of Belhaven neighborhood since 2005. I just want to give all respect to City Council and to Chief Norris. I didn't hear his presentation, but I know Chief Norris from some of the work that we did together back in San Mateo doing gang prevention. I work with youth on a daily basis doing violence prevention and conflict resolution. And I want to just say that when we talk about reimagining the police department and law enforcement as a whole, it can't be done in a vacuum. As we know, whenever you make a change to the police department, there's got to be changes to public works or community service, because departments don't work in a vacuum. So if we're talking about reimagining the police, we've got to talk about reimagining city departments and how they work and communicate with each other. There's been a lot of comments tonight, good comments, and really nothing new. And I really just want to encourage City Council and city staff to go back to 2013, go back to 2008, go back to the work that was done prior, because a lot of comments regarding about reimagining and changes to be made is really nothing new. Traffic safety has been talked about, community engagement has been talked about, public safety, and these are not new issues, particularly to the Belhaven community. So my encouragement, like my sister Pam Jones said earlier, read the visioning process that happened in 2013. There was a lot of recommendations, and I'm going to put a couple things out there for you to really put on your radar. In that visioning process, there was a recommendation to create a position, like a liaison position, that would not be a law enforcement position. It would be a civilian position that would represent the city and help coordinate and facilitate communication between public works or community services, because the PD, those departments rely heavily on the PD and vice versa. And so when we talk about Belhaven, I'm just talking about Belhaven. If we go down Pierce, I mean, it's a dumping ground. But we know that Public Works doesn't have, the staff or the capacity or the bandwidth to go deal with that. And neither does the police department. But if you have a dedicated position that can help coordinate communication between the different departments, that goes a long way, because that civilian position could communicate with the public, can communicate with PD, can communicate with Public Works for issues just like that. We have a satellite office in the Belhaven neighborhood. I'm sorry, but when I go buy sushi or I go to Jack in the Box, siempre está cerrado, it's always closed. And so a position like this could be there to be staffed there to welcome the public, because too many people go in and they just get turned off because it's closed. I know my time is up, but I just want to thank you and put that out there. Gracias.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker will be Mary Kay.
Thank you. This is Mary Kiekler speaking. I am both a residential property owner and also a downtown Menlo Park commercial property owner. And I just wanted to voice my support for the Menlo Park Police Department and say that, especially as a business owner, the downtown is experiencing a hard time. I was walking down Santa Cruz Avenue last night, and it is really distressing to see how empty our downtown is. And, we rely on our police department to help for the safety and well-being of the whole community. We have laws in place that we'd like to see enforced. And again, just hope to see the police department fully funded and fully staffed to the best of our ability and staffed by the best people that we can get. So thanks again to the City Council for all your hard work, Betsy Nash, for your representation of our district and just the responsiveness of everyone. Actually, Mayor Combs, my husband called you the other day, interrupted you while you were making a sandwich at home for your family. We appreciate having council members who are so available. And welcome to our new police chief. And thank you again. I know that these are hard issues to work through, but we're a great community and we can do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker will be Mikko Harris Parker.
Hi, my name is Mikko Harris Parker. I have been a Belhaven resident for 45 years. I've lived here all my life. So I have seen the transitions over the decades to where Belhaven was to what it is today. And just to piggyback on what the last three speakers had to say, I think it is vitally important that the residents of Belhaven are included in the budget process. It would also be extremely wonderful to have that position set aside for a civilian resident to be able to be a communicator between the city, the police department, and the residents. But I do want to just give my thanks and appreciation to the City Council for holding sessions like this and for Cecilia Taylor for the work she has done for our community. As I said, I've lived here all my life, so I know the representation is here where it wasn't before. And I am very appreciative of that. And I want to see that continue to happen. And I want to see my community continue to grow. And the support from our entire City Council for the Belhaven community is vitally important. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And at this time, there are no further hands raised. So Mayor Combs, you may continue.
Thank you, City Clerk Karen, and I want to thank everyone for the comments and the questions. The City Council, the city staff, and obviously the police and the police chief are here in service of the community. And so, hearing from you, hearing what direction you want to take this discussion is important to all of us. And so I will preface that obviously, all of the comments were heard, and I hopefully you saw all of us taking notes. I know that the police department is also officially recording all of the comments and plans to respond. And so we definitely heard, and some of these themes and issues will be specifically revisited as we get into the discussion. Some may not, and I just want to sort of preface that just because in the interest of time, we couldn't sort of methodically go through and cover every issue that was raised and every question that was asked, but they all were heard, and we certainly will address a number of them. And again, and more and follow up. Again, like I said, there'll be an official follow up from the police department. And even if if you still feel that there are questions or concerns that you have, then definitely email us all directly and say, hey, this is something that I want to follow up to. And you guys didn't get through it in the session. and maybe the police communication didn't adequately touch it, we will, just let us know, and we will provide a response. With that, before we bring it to the virtual dais and engage in council discussion and direction on next steps, I did want to take a 5-minute break, or actually let's make it an 8-minute break. And so I have 6:42, and so let's reconvene at 6:50.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. So I ask that all members of the City Council disengage their webcams and microphone and only engage your webcams when you return. Thank you. Having all members of our city council return to the virtual dais, Mayor Combs, you may reconvene the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk Karen. As we get into the council discussion, I'll ask the Chief Norris to come back on camera. And while I do want to sort of ultimately circle the discussion around the direction the chief is looking for, given the importance of the topic, I want to give every council member individually an opportunity to go in whatever direction they would like to go in and ask any additional questions. So with that, we'll circle around the virtual dais and give each council member the opportunity to talk, comment, and ask questions of the chief or the city attorney or the city manager as needed. And then hopefully we can circle back to giving clear direction as with regards to next steps. So with that, is there anyone who wants to kick off the discussion? Okay, Councilmember Mueller, thank you for going first.
No problem. My question really is, and I just wanted to express appreciation to the chief. It was an excellent presentation, and also to those who came to speak this evening. Greatly appreciate people making the time to share with us. My question to the chief is, and to our professional staff and the city managers, do they have the resources they need in order to move forward with what's been presented this evening and what may come as far as direction? Well, putting together a plan is one thing, but being able to execute that plan and having the resources you need to do so is something else entirely. And so I am curious, as this was put together, was there thought behind what they have available to them to actually execute this in a way that's going to be meaningful?
So am I clear to answer, Mayor? Do you want me to take these one by one? Okay, great. So this is a very good question. I think we are in a good spot right now to start this process, take in information, really take a look around at what's going on, and start to make some metered identifications, acknowledgements, and then ultimately proposals. But what I don't want to do is put the cart before the horse. I think we do have adequate staff to start looking at this. And then I know that in speaking with a couple of council members, I know that there's room for us to identify some issues and then perhaps make some proposals. But I've been very conservative with what I'm trying to ask back for based on what we had in 2020 from council, because I know that we have to be thoughtful with this process. So for the time being, I think we're good with what we have. But as we identify some things, expect us to have some substantive conversations about how we may need resources to make those happen.
Okay. And I just have one more question for you while I have you, Chief. Is when you are looking at those other pilots that are looking at the work sending out a social worker to specific types of calls, what's the timeline in terms of getting metrics back from those pilots in a way that we're going to feel comfortable as a city starting to embark on a process like that on our own?
I think there's two parts to that, council member. The first part is really to continue to pay attention to what those larger cities are doing with this co-response model. I do like the co-response model because of the current manner in which we interact with a lot of our social services and medical services in this county, which is many times they want that scene secure from police. So how that co-response works will be very important and inform us on how we can put together our own strategy, whether it closely resembles that, whether it looks like something that's a little bit more independent. But I think we do need to really observe and take that into account as we move forward.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one more question. I apologize, Mayor, for saying, and Chief for saying that was my last one. But while we're engaging on this process, and we're looking for reimagining the police department, are we going to be looking at other issues? I know through the pandemic, there's been concern about individuals being in domestic violence situations. Obviously, mental health issues have risen to the forefront. Are we going to be looking at, well, as taking feedback from the community surrounding other issues as well, to determine how we can best reimagine our vision and our response to those issues as well?
Yeah, I think that's an important place to keep an eye on what we currently do, because as we start going through these conversations where we talk to you a little bit about how we handle these things, there are a lot of pieces of this that we actually are doing already that are part of existing protocols. This county does a superior job of folding in needed services to protocols for even crime responses like domestic violence. And so, these are things that we may want to add in as points of focus as we talk about some of our operational practices.
I have one more. I'm sorry. Chief, one other issue came to the forefront that I've spoken with people about recently. That's the issue of how immigration status affects the interaction with the police department. And I'm curious to know, is that another area that you'll be looking at in terms of what the best practices are in terms of interaction between the police department and those with different varying immigration statuses in order to bring proposals back to the council?
Absolutely. And just for a point of reference, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at this and give us any feedback if they think that they need it. But our policies are publicly available. Policy number 428 is our immigration violations policy, and it talks about how we specifically do not stop and contact and detain people strictly for civil immigration violations, and that we actually prohibit members of our department from doing that. And there are very strict conditions under which criminal investigation causes us to have interactions with any federal entity like that. And so we don't do, there are certain things that we will not have our officers do, which is we don't detain people specifically for that. We don't get into people's immigration status as part of our investigation. What we do is if there is some type of serious crime that we have a person arrested for, if that is a factor where that information needs to be transferred, it would only be for people who are criminally arrested, and it won't be in any way for people that we're just contacting as part of the community. But the specifics of that policy are actually very, very closely resemble existing state law. And so I would encourage people to take a look at policy 428 and ask any important questions and make any important feedback or suggestions that they might have.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that, Chief, is because as we're doing doing what really is going to be going out and doing feedback with the public relating to issues around race and policing, there you have obviously data and metrics that you're looking at, and then feedback you're taking from the community. And both of those things are important, but then also there's just the underlying relationship building work with the community, right? And so I'm very interested to know, as we look at these components where we take feedback from the community and break that down into data, and then we look at metrics, when we're looking at relationship building, how are we not only looking at how we improve those relationships around race, but how do we get down to the deep, to some of the deep issues around immigration as well. And obviously, as I brought up, the reason was the interchange between immigration and domestic violence. How do we get down to we're building those relationships so that people feel comfortable coming forward? And race obviously is a part of that as well. So I appreciate it, and I'd love to hear your feedback on that. But I feel like if we're going to be going through this process, which is really important, let's go all the way.
Totally agree, and I will keep it brief, but I will say this: that I know that although there are numerous other languages that we also need to be cognizant and aware of, that Spanish is one of the primary languages that we're talking about, especially with the concentration of Spanish speakers that we have in Belhaven and other areas. We have a number of Spanish speakers on our department. We also happen to have an interim patrol commander who is bilingual Spanish. We will bring all of that with us in any of these community conversations because we know that connection is important. And in fact, you know, we've heard very little of that so far from our community, at least in these recent meetings. And so I'm hoping to try and expand that because we do need to hear from every corner of our city, and that is an important part of it.
Well, I finally just want to say thank you to you. And I actually have spoken to members of the POA who are very open to having this a respectful discussion about all of these issues, and very, very much appreciate that much. You know, the Juneteenth celebration in Belhaven, I was wonderful. I had various community members walk up and really express support for the department, but also want to engage with the department on these issues. And it's a great thing to see this interaction taking place as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mueller. Is there anyone who wants to go next? Or I'll call on people. I'll go with the account. Okay, Vice Mayor Nash. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a number of questions, and I guess this is the right time to just be raising them. I don't expect answers right now. I guess the first thing I want to do, as others have said, is Chief Norris, I really appreciate you being here and just how much communication and how accessible you are. Just for everyone to know, as one of the speakers said, I was out at Nealon Park meeting with a dozen neighbors the other day, and there's some issues that came up, and I emailed the chief about it and just said, might you be able to join us at the next meeting? And almost instantaneously, I had a response, and we're now trying to figure out dates for that. But I just, it's been fabulous. Thank you so much and other times when I've reached out, you've been incredibly easy to get a hold of, and really, really appreciate that. So thank you. I guess one of my first questions, well, I like what one of the speakers said. I think many of us probably have had the idea just as far as defining what is public safety in Menlo Park and sort of having more of a discussion about that. One of the things, it seems like public safety and police are interchangeable, and I just would love to at some point have more of a discussion about that. And just what is the best, just how do we see that? And then as we are looking at sort of what we're looking for in the police and our community values, also trying to come up with some metrics that make sense to everyone. There's an excellent paper out. Catherine Milton, one of our residents in Menlo Park, wrote it, and she was on the board of the Police Foundation, I believe it was. And she was the former assistant director of the Police Foundation. And she has Measurement Matters, the Key to Police Reform, and I highly recommend that everyone read it. And essentially, one of the first questions she recommends is, what exactly does the community want its neighborhood police officers to do? And then how does one measure this? Because what you measure is what you get. So that's an excellent place to start, I think. I guess things that I am interested in getting more information on is taser use, and not just the use, but in what situations. I've been reading more about it, and I think there's more that I would like to discuss there on taser use, on the canine unit, on mutual aid, and sort of when we, how that works, how much we do. Obviously, it's something that is very important to every community, but would love to know more about just when that happens. I was frankly concerned when we did have the discussion about tasers the other day, And I learned that we go into when other communities such as East Palo Alto do not have tasers, in what was still in my mind described as in chaotic situations, our police officers are then called into chaotic situations with tasers. And then the city has responsibility, if I understood it correctly, regardless of whether it is actually our officers who are using the tasers or not, because it's our equipment. So would love to have a more in-depth conversation on that. And also just generally, I've also learned that tasers are not used from what I've heard, with people who are armed. And so just when people are unarmed, just what are the various options? Could we have a broader discussion about that? Also, just industry standards on staffing. Obviously, we have a huge in the past have had a huge influx of workers coming into the community. How does all this play with staffing? And as you've said, just who knows what life will look like a year from now, given the pandemic and where people are, companies are now doing much more work from home and presumably doing hybrids, and just, I guess we'll all be learning at the same time. I'm also very interested in how the department is handling vaccinations and unvaccinated staff. I think that goes even beyond to the entire city and city staff, but specifically at this point, the police officers who are out and about in the community all the time, both from every point of view, from a 360 as far as just everybody's safety. I'm curious, someone mentioned ShotSpotter, whether we use that. I thought the idea of volunteer patrols was very interesting and worth getting into a discussion about that. Obviously, neighborhood streets and traffic is a huge issue for all of us. And just what can we do better? Berkeley, I believe, is just what are the various experiments that are out there, possibly not using armed police officers. How does that, what are various options? And then something that's been brought to my attention is that San Francisco apparently has a model for emergency. In some situations, they send out EMTs, mental health professionals, peer counselors, and not police. And if we could get more information on that situation, I also understand that they would be very happy to talk with us about that. But that's an interesting possibility in just to see how that works. And I also, I don't know whatever happened with this. These are from my notes from last June. There was a model code enforcement in San Jose. They were moving code enforcement actually from police to the planning building and to their a different department with planning and building, which is so just sort of would love to hear about that idea and whether that makes sense. So that sort of encompasses a lot of what I'm interested in. Most of all, thank you so much for being here. It's great to be having this discussion. Oh, and I guess one other piece of it was, I wanted to we have a resolution number 6563, which was proclaiming Black Lives Matter. And the first bullet of that was reform policing in Menlo Park so everyone can live their lives without fear. And I think that that's sort of a good place to start. So thank you.
Great. I don't know whether to treat that all as a series of questions or just kind of give you a little bit of an answer. So.
Oh, I wasn't expecting responses. Great, thank you.
Let me give you just a little bit of a response. And Vice Mayor, thank you. That's obviously a lot of detail. I think that really informs us in some of these further conversations that we're going to have, and where we want to go into detail and provide some explanation. There were a couple of things that you mentioned that I definitely want to hit on. I thank you for giving me a reference to that article. I will definitely look at that. I am a complete wonk, as you know, for anything that has to do with anything about policing. So I'll be looking that up. But on that same topic, I was listening to a podcast with Bernard Malikian, who's currently the interim police chief in the city of Santa Barbara. But for 3 years, he was the director of the National Cops Office after his career as the chief of Pasadena Police Department, which, as you may know, has a very large minority population. And so one of the things that Dr. Malikian really gets into is exactly what you pointed out with that article, which is that police departments really need to reach out to their communities and find out what is important to their communities and use that as the framework for how we measure what we do, that it shouldn't just be number of traffic stops, number of arrests, et cetera. It is a bit of a sea change for conventional law enforcement to look at things that way. But I, as you know, I look at things a little bit differently, and I'm interested in looking at that. And we've already started to have some conversations. And I might preempt some further questions, but I'm also going to answer some questions that came in through the comments about foot patrols and bicycle patrols, because I think it's important for you all to know. We just had a conversation night before last with our Police Officers Association, because we want to try and find a way to make room within our patrol staffing to put officers out on foot patrols and bicycle patrols. So we are already thinking about those things. I know that you talked about industry standards on staffing. We will fold that into further discussions. COVID procedures. Let me get into that just a little bit, because I just want to give you a picture of what we've been doing. So because the council doesn't know this, I'm going to fill you in. Prior to my tenure here, I was the point person, the safety officer for the police department that I was in prior, which was a big police department. It was a 50,000 square foot facility, 160 employees. So we had some opportunity to do a lot of direction with safety procedures, et cetera. So when we started to get this new information about the variant and the masking information that has come through, we immediately let our patrol teams know that any public contact they will be wearing at least face coverings, and then any other PPE as appropriate. In terms of vaccinations, obviously that's kind of a touchy issue that we're still working through as a city staff. But I could tell you from my standpoint, our staff here knows that if you're vaccinated within the confines of the PD operational space, that we're still going to follow current OSHA standards, which are if you're vaccinated, you're okay without a mask. That may change very soon. But for those who are unvaccinated, they are directed to wear a face covering at all times when they are in interaction with anyone. And so I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that fact. ShotSpotter, we don't have ShotSpotter here in Menlo Park. As a matter of fact, my red light is blinking on my phone because they keep blowing up my phone looking to have a conversation. But we do know that East Palo Alto right next door does have it. It is actually very effective and does provide them with a lot of really good information. But before we move forward with anything like that, we want to make sure that we get a holistic take on whether that's appropriate for this jurisdiction. So we're looking at that. Let's see, what else? So the San Francisco program, First Responders for mental health, I have a deep appreciation for what they are doing. I do know that there are some danger factors also to what they're doing that have been somewhat publicized. And so we do want to be careful. And I'm interested in engaging with those discussions and figuring out what other first responder mental health options there are out there. But I do also want to make sure that we stay in lockstep with our behavioral health recovery services here in San Mateo County and their practices, and our other public safety partners on the emergency medical services side, to make sure that when we have responses, that we're providing the support that they're expecting, and that we have agreement on what they're expecting and how they expect it in the city of Menlo Park. And so we'll be looking at that very carefully in the future. I may have missed a couple things. There was a lot of stuff there, but we're taking down notes on all this, and we'll make sure that we answered any of the other questions you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nash. I'll go to Councilmember Willison next.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. And first, I just want to thank the members of the community who have come out year after year, it sounds like decade after decade, to advocate for the safety and sense of security in the community that they're so seeking, and for not kind of giving up, and for having hopefully a renewed sense of hope with our new police chief, who I want to thank for your demeanor and your openness and collaborative approach. It's as I think Ms. Jones said, it's a breath of fresh air, and we're very happy that you're here, and we look forward to engaging with you in this process. I want to just say that Councilmember Mueller and Vice Mayor Nash brought up some of the points that I was going to bring up around immigration, around some of these alternative models. So I won't repeat what they said, but I do echo pretty much everything that they both said. I just wanted to just pontificate for a few minutes about my thinking about this topic, because like all of you, I've been thinking about this for about a year. So I'm very happy and that we're finally having these conversations. And I do want to let the community know this is just the beginning. So please kind of buckle up and join us on this journey, but we're committed to having these conversations, but it might take some time, and we might, put our feet in our mouth a few times. But we're, as Mayor Combs said, we're here in the service of the community, and we're here to get it right. And if that takes some mistakes along the way, let us know, please, respectfully, if you can, and we'll do our best. So one of the things I hear a lot, and I've thought a lot and read a lot about, is this concept of, if you kind of lower staffing levels of the police, which we did do during the community, it's almost like kind of pulling the rug out of certain services. And I kind of echo what Ms. Bramlett, one of our public commenters, said about, if someone's breaking into my house, I want the police to come. And so we can't just kind of take away services and not put something in their place in the meantime. So while we have these conversations about reform, I am very sensitive about making sure we have kind of a base level of, especially when it comes to violence and personal safety issues, that those are covered. And I'm not interested in getting rid of the police in any way. That I believe every member of our community wants someone to pick up the phone when they have an emergency. I think where the rub comes is that some members of our community, I think I've said this before, some members of our community feel a sense of comfort when the police are around and when the police show up, and other members of our community, particularly in District 1, feel a sense of fear and sometimes terror and a lot of baggage and trauma around seeing the police. And so as we navigate through this process, I almost feel like there's like two realities in Menlo Park. And this is not unique to policing in Menlo Park. This has to do with, our educational system, our housing, air quality, traffic. I mean, this is like epidemic of just all of the kind of challenges in our society that are kind of have born out of, our racist segregated past. And so I think that we can't look at police reform as has been mentioned by public speaker in a vacuum. It really has to be looked at in this whole context of, I don't want to use like diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I mean that with a lot of teeth and a lot of seriousness, and kind of confronting a lot of the racism that is not, I'm not saying that the police have been racist. I'm just saying we have policies and systems in place that have perpetuated segregation and that have done kind of the bidding of society to keep our communities separated. And I think as has been evident by this council, we are seeking a shift in that and kind of looking for models beyond the status quo because of those consequences of those policies. So I appreciate that Vice Mayor Nash read that sentence from that Black Lives Matter thing, kind of a community, I believe, where nobody lives in fear. I don't have the exact language, but I think that's what we all want. And we all want a sense of belonging. And so I think a big piece of that is looking at ourselves as a community and that outreach component. I appreciate, Chief Norris, that you didn't kind of get ahead of yourself with that advisory, with the chief's advisory body. I do think that advisory body, and I appreciate the residents, first of all, that have served on that body in the past. I don't think anyone has any ill intention or operating in secrecy, but I do think that there's a desire now to have kind of crack that open and have that be much more transparent. And especially involve residents of District 1 and really make it a public process of who sits on that body. I would like to see it be some form of official commission, or at least have a discussion about what that body should look like. My initial thoughts are some type of commission, even with rank and file police officers serving on it as well. Maybe a couple council members, some district, some specific representation from District 1 and some other residents. I'm not sure I would like to chat about what that looks like, but I think that there's a real appetite to have those meetings be, publicly available to some degree, so that accountability and transparency is there. And so there's not at least a perception that things are happening behind the scenes. I also think it could be a really good tool and kind of funnel to, as we have these conversations over the months to come and probably over the years to come, to digest and kind of do a first level analysis and reaction to some of these ideas and models and policies. I think there's a lot of potential that could come out of that. And I would actually like that body to be put together sooner rather than later. I think there's an urgency in that. Based on the public comment about the whole idea of a Belhaven liaison, I'm like really excited about that idea. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I think I do think that District 1 is I don't want to use the word special, but I think that district has a longstanding distrust and for reasons, and that it needs some special attention. So I would want to defer to that district and to Councilmember Taylor on what that position would look like if she would be interested in that. But I could almost imagine, like at the service center, having like pizza nights and having residents come in and bring your issues and what have you to be addressed, and really develop that community feeling, a connection with the city like that. The alternative model conversations, I think that we're all very curious about what those models are. We're throwing out San Francisco and San Mateo County, and there's the Cahoots thing in Oregon, I think, ranging from, and then Berkeley and Oakland, I think, with regards to traffic. I would love, and I realize that there's challenges and potential dangers, and they're not all fully baked, and there's risks, but I think that there's an appetite among our residents and in the community to hear what these models are and have these discussions, and be able to have you, Chief Norris, react, like to almost bring in folks from San Francisco and bring in folks from Oakland that are looking at some of these alternative traffic things, and then have a discussion, maybe like a panel with some of these, and have you weigh in on like your perspective on what they're saying. And perhaps what we could do, one idea would be to put together some like council subcommittee, working with you, Chief Norris, on like what types of models we want to look at and bring back. Or we can all have that discussion now, but there might be specific models that some of us are really interested in, and we can help work with you to look into those. And then I know that especially with traffic, some of these things were constrained by state laws. I think there was a state law about using cameras for speeding, I believe that did not pass. So I believe it's this council's sort of policy, not normally to take positions on state legislation. But I would like, maybe we want to make an exception in some of these cases with these kind of cutting edge things, especially with regards to traffic, where we want to explore, are there things that Menlo Park can be doing to advocate for some of these things that will get us where we want to go that we can't do now. And this is a very specific, those are kind of my broad level comments. Oh, actually, one more thing is just the concept of like militarization. Sorry, it's a big word. I think that might encompass the taser question and just like, what do we look like in terms of that issue? And it might also bring up some of the issues that Ms. Baruzzi was talking about of this like mirrored sunglass. You know, I know we want you to wear your bulletproof, you know, uniforms, but how can we kind of create a more, you know, friendly police vibe so that residents feel comfortable getting to know the police, and that there's that, because we all want to welcome the police into our lives and into our community. I think that ideally in a perfect world we would all have that feeling. It's just how do we just have to address all these other issues. So the super specific question I had though was regarding, I believe if there is a body camera that like if it has to be released to the public, like a video, I think there's some company that sometimes like edits the video and does, and I've heard that can be problematic, kind of like presents the information from a certain perspective. And I'm curious if we use that company and what your thoughts are on that. And that's my specific question, but I just really appreciate you being so open, and I look forward to working with you on these issues.
Thanks, Councilmember. I'll just take a minute to respond. A lot of the stuff, obviously, we've talked about a little bit and will be coming up in further meetings. I have a great interest in figuring out what we want to do in terms of some type of collaborative advisory body and whatever that looks like. And, you know, I would like some thoughts from council about, you know, maybe a further study session sooner rather than later to kind of flesh that out. Just to talk real briefly about the Belhaven liaison idea, I think that's a great idea. I think that if there is one place where I might answer Councilmember Mueller's original question to me about resources, that might be a place where we might look for resources to handle something like that, because we're talking about adding a civilian person who would have a focus. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I think that we might also want to explore and make sure that that's not the only place where we want to have someone with liaison capacity of that type. I would, I'll let you know that in my Friday email that I'll be sending out to everybody, we will talk about that feedback that we got about the, you know, about the kind of the impersonal approach versus the personal approach, and the fact that the community would be excited about bicycle and foot patrols, which is something that we're actively discussing. So I will add that in. You talked a little bit about the diversity, inclusiveness, and some of those themes. And I know that there was also a comment prior to this meeting wanting to know, what is the definition of progressive policing? Well, progressive policing is exactly that. It incorporates a lot of those things that our public wants out of law enforcement, that is different than, you know, what the traditional look and feel of law enforcement is, which is, you know, great procedural justice, great connection with the public, making sure that we are considering things like bias awareness and inclusiveness and all of those factors. Like, those are all things that fall under that progressive policing heading. And so I think we're heading in a similar direction on that. These are places that we want to embellish some of the skills and abilities that we already have in that realm, and really, you know, reach out and look and see where else we can improve. So I'm in full agreement on that. I also agree with your perspective that there are going to be some core safety services that we're going to need to retain from the police side, right? If something is happening out in the public and it needs to be rendered safe, and you need a police response, if there's a crime that's happening actively, et cetera, that there are pieces of policing that will remain policing. And as long as we're doing that in the most professional manner that we can, with all of these other factors in mind, we are going to be retaining some of those core principles that we have. Let's see, I think that covers most of it that you were asking about. And I just want to double check with you if there's anything specific that you think I need to reach back to.
Yeah, I mean, I know I threw a lot at you. Yeah, we can talk more about, I'd be curious to hear more from my colleagues about exactly which models we want to look into and how we want to look into those. And then just my final question about that video editing service.
And I was going to get to that first, but then I would have forgotten all the other stuff. So yes, I do have a working relationship with Laura Cole and their critical incident videos. I have some direct experience with working with them. This is what I can tell you. The response that we get when we have a critical incident and we need to put something out, I think that there is an important need to add some context to the video, because I think it's important to at least provide some objective context to whatever video the public is about to see. We work very, very closely with that production company to make sure that we are not adding in any editorializing or opinion or subjective material as we do that. But it is important to do some of the things that they're really good at, like putting together a map of the scene, being able to kind of provide, some services to help us understand maybe sometimes what language issues there may be. Sometimes people are mumbling, or it's not clear on the video, or sometimes if an officer is in a position where you can't hear everything well, that there may be ways that we can help provide some clarity for the public on that. But in terms of editorializing or setting this up or trying to put our opinions into that, Laura Cole knows this about me, and she knows that I will shout this from the rooftops about her. We work together to make sure that there is none of that if we were to be in the unfortunate position to have to put that kind of video out.
Thank you, Councilmember Willison, for the questions. And I just wanted, when you said you wanted to discuss models with the council, was that models in connection with the advisory commission committee, or was that models in connection with policing services? I just
yeah, I guess it would be both.
Okay.
And then obviously that doesn't have to happen tonight. I think this is our first conversation, but those are conversations that I would like to have.
Okay, totally fair. And hopefully we can sort of at least kick a little bit of that off just to get some sense of what people are thinking. But again, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
And Mr. Mayor, I think it is important for us to, spin off some of those conversations and say, look, if those alternative service delivery models and having, substantive, even panel discussions about that is important, then, those are the things that we want to hear. We want to be able to produce additional interactions with the public where we're providing the information that the public is looking for.
Thank you, Chief Norris. Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Combs, and thank you, Chief Norris. And I also want to thank everyone who provided their concerns, questions, and perspectives during public comment. It has been a this has been a learning experience for me. Chief Norris, the way your presentation was done provided so much information. I have a lot of questions, and most of them I will not ask. I will try to keep it to 5. And the first is, I don't even know which question to ask first. Just thinking about timeline, a realistic timeline. You just stated about having another study session sooner than later. I am definitely interested in having some type of community-based advisory committee, board, commission, whatever title you want to give it, to help along this process that we're doing now. I would like to see that happen now, because, you know, questions about, well, one question in public comment: what role does the community want the police to perform in today's society? And I think that that can only be answered by the community. And so, just a question of timeline. What do you see?
How soon are you available?
Next week?
That would be my answer. I would love to. You know, we'll need just a little bit of time to kind of tee it up. I actually have had some staff going through various different models of advisory committees and boards that are both local and nationally. I know that Ms. Levin came on and made some comments, and she actually gave us a link to a website that has several different oversight boards, which is really a little bit of a different topic, but a lot of information on best practices for standing these types of things up. And so we're going to be going through that as well, but we're also looking at a lot of local governments and how they're doing it. I would love to get, you know, definitely sooner rather than later. I would say within the next month or so for certain, to get some firm direction on how we establish this, move quickly into getting a group together. I think I've told you many months ago, maybe in our very, very first meeting before I was even hired here, that I think it's important that we provide some education to whoever it is that we bring on to that, so that they're coming from a place of understanding. And I know we gave a very brief snapshot today, but there's more to come. I want to make sure that people have information in front of them and that they're understanding before they need to be understood, right? It's an important principle. So the sooner we can get starting with that process, the better. But I do want to not have to go backwards on it. So I do want to make sure that we collaborate with you all in the council on something that meets your interests.
Thank you. And is it possible to put a definition of progressive policing on the website? And I appreciate you, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask.
Absolutely, and I want to make sure that I take a holistic approach to providing that definition. I think you ask, you know, 7 different experts what their definition is, you probably get 7 different answers. So we want to make sure that it's something that's right. And I may even ask, you know, for some help and feedback on that as we formulate it. But yes, I would love to put something like that on the website, so that it's clear with our community the direction that we're heading.
Thank you. And as far as diversity, equity, and inclusion training for yourself and the police department, is that only done through specialized police sergeants, school, or is it done through a general place where you interact with the general public, or is it only for law enforcement?
I would love to do a little bit of research and take that and bring that answer back to you, only because I'm still the new guy in our department, and I want to know how we're doing it. But in terms of the police facing side of that, it's important for you to know that we have a couple classes that we do, and you know, one is the bias awareness class, and another one is one that's called principled policing. And the direction that I've currently given to our training manager on that is, let's find people who have an interest here. Let's make them in-house subject matter experts, because that gives us a reference point inside our organization, and it gives us a force multiplier. Those people who are like train the trainer certified, so that they understand, you know, what the state is giving us in terms of an outline of how we need to make sure our officers have a full scope of that, and bring that to our officers. And then I think I also at one point discussed the idea with you of bringing in a historical aspect. I know this is something that NYPD has experimented with. I'm very interested in seeing if we can incorporate something like that here, because I think that, as I said in my video the other day, there are some people in this jurisdiction that have some distinct history about how things have gone in Menlo Park. And I think it would be really good, especially for those 2 to 5 year officers that we have, for a little bit of a sharing of that experience, so that they have some perspective.
One of the reasons I asked is because the DEI training in different environments is going to look different. And I know that you showed a slide that showed the diversity of the department. For me, I think about diversity and I think about culture and how they work together. And so the culture and the diversity may not be working together, which could be an issue. Don't know. One of the reasons why I asked the question about the DEI training. Something that I brought up to you before, Chief, and this is around mental health, homelessness, and also our youth. We've had an increase in youth suicide. We have homeless that live on the streets of Menlo Park, and we definitely have mental health issues. And so I would really like to see those services being handled by someone else. And it's not to say that public safety officers aren't the right ones to do it. Just thinking about success. Who is more likely to have a success? Someone who shows up with a badge and gun or someone who has a pen and piece of paper? I'm not sure. And I'm sure that there's some stats out there, and I'm not sure if you have any of that.
I don't have that directly available to me in terms of stats tonight. I do think that this is an important and interesting topic. And I do like, one of the places where I'm very, very curious in this business is I know that there are people who are intimidated by the mere presence of police. And we heard some comments about that tonight. But I don't know what facilitates that factor and how, what portion of the community actually perceives it that way. And I would be very curious to know more about that and how we might be able to work to address some of that. That being said, I completely agree with you that there are people out there who are more expert than our police officers are. And I think you and I have talked about this, and I told you that I think our police officers would like to see expert people being able to provide that service. We just need to make sure that the safety part is taken care of, or that it isn't a factor on the front end, so that we're not putting those people in danger when they're sending them, when we're sending them directly out. And I know that you understand that as well as I do, but I'm very open to finding ways that we can get as close to a direct application of the right expert services as we can.
Thank you. And I believe that one of the concerns that I've heard repeatedly has to do with the first interaction with the law enforcement officer. And it's usually when you're getting pulled over or you're being told that you've done something wrong, as opposed to you're interacting freely. And I think that would help if that's not the only time that you talk to the public, is when you're engaging in a problem. And I know that that's one of the reasons why we have National Night Out.
And my answer was going to be your point in this, which is the only way that we can address that is by increasing the number of non-safety essential contacts that we have with our public. And I know that there's a balance there, right? Because there are times when the public, certain portions of the public don't want to see us around unless they're calling for the help from the police. But unless we increase the number of those just social engagements with our public, we don't reduce that apprehension that creates that dynamic in the first place. So I know that it's a delicate process, but we're committed to upping that sense of positive relationship between the public and the police, so that we can reduce that apprehension as much as we can.
Well, I'm hoping we can get to a place of 25% of our police officers actually live in the city. Right now, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would doubt if it's even 25% because of cost.
Right. But can I speak to something that I think has come up
Yes.
in this meeting that I think is really important for us to acknowledge, and that is that there has been talk about the whole defund narrative in some ways has talked about reapplying funds from police to some other socially oriented services and housing and other things. And while I think we really have to study before we take from one and give to the other, I do think that we would be just as supportive from the police side as as many of the folks are who are commenting about the fact that we would love to have a higher percentage of people who live here in town or who can take advantage of housing opportunities and be part of this community, live in the community that they police. It has been a very difficult thing in San Mateo County for as long as I can remember. But I think our officers are very interested in that. And I think if we can come up with some things that help to seat those folks here closer to the place that they're working, it would be incredibly beneficial to the dynamic between the police and the public.
I have one last question about the police log and then a comment. And that is, and I don't remember if you covered it, is it optional to report the person's first and last name, their birth date, and their race? Is that voluntary or is that mandatory?
If someone wants to report anonymously, we can still start that call for service.
I mean the police log. Sorry for interrupting you. What we report in the police log.
I see. On the police log, we tend to not report that because it's personal identifying information that we tend to keep separate from the information that we put out publicly. And so, generally speaking, for the reporting party, we keep that out of the police log because it's personal identifying information. If there is a mechanism that you're thinking of that we might want to do something differently with that, I'd certainly be willing to listen.
I think I'm asking the correct, I need to re-ask the question, and that is the daily police log that we can read about what happened on the previous day.
Okay.
There you list the person's name, full name, their birth date, their race, and they've been either arrested or cited out. I'm not even sure what the rules are.
Okay, so you're not talking about reporting parties, you're talking about arrestees. Correct?
Yes, whatever is reported in the police log that the public can see in it.
We do have a requirement as part of the government code in terms of releasing arrest log information that does involve identifying information of arrestees. There is also some recent legislation that's on the books that prohibits us from putting forth a photo of an individual on lower level offenses that sometimes you'll see a press release and you might see a picture of the person who's arrested. We need to kind of minimize that. And that's based on a lot of feedback that we've gotten from the community about reducing the amount of identification that we make of people who are arrested, especially because rehabilitation is always the priority, right? And so there's that factor to it as well. But yes, that is information that's part of what we would typically put out in a formal arrest log if we were doing a formal arrest log. So it is public.
Okay, thank you. Just thinking about a few of the items that that we touched on, and for me, just about homeless, I look at how much money we actually invest in the problem. And it's about, well, from my recollection, it's about $20,000 a year. It may be more than that, but just thinking about what the city actually puts into the issue versus when I see that there's someone who's a transient that's been arrested repeatedly for a $300 warrant, and we have a commanding officer out arresting them. And so I just look at how much resources it takes to deal with a situation for someone that's homeless, and then versus how much money we put into dealing with our issues with the homeless. And the same thing for me, I look at when we're dealing with a youth, what our youth need to make sure that they have space and time to do whatever it is they need to do to have physical exercise. How much do we invest in that? So I'm looking at it in those terms. And so when I think about that, I just like reimagining public safety to me means doing something a little different. And it isn't necessarily taking away from one to give to the other, but the way our system was set up, it was never to do a bottom-up approach, to deal with what was most needed, and then to overfund that, and then deal with everything else. Instead, whatever is most needed gets the least amount of funding. And that's what I'm seeing.
I'd love to, engage in that battle with you in a partnership and figure out if there are ways that we can address that together. I can tell you, without being specific, because I know you talked about the range, right, from youth all the way up to folks who are homeless and have other concerns and issues. When we have cases that are repetitive calls, this is my philosophy, and I don't know if this has always been the philosophy here in Menlo Park. Perhaps it has, but the folks who are working now know where my direction is, because we had something like that, and I think you brought part of that to my attention last week. We had an incident where we went out 3 or 4 times and arrested the same person for a trespassing issue, and so I went back to our team and I said, this is not something that we want to just continue to go out and put a Band-Aid on this. This is a problem-oriented policing issue. Let's find out, how we might be able to address this in a way that we're not repetitively dealing with this. And that means most of the time, like finding what that person needs and finding if there's a services connection that can go with that. So, because you're right, if we go out repetitively and we're putting a Band-Aid on a problem, like we are wasting money. And we're wasting time. And I would love to have our officers out in a park, talking to people or watching a ball game and handing out stickers to kids instead of going out to repetitive calls for service. If we can find a way to strike at the root of that issue and provide a person services.
Thank you, Chief Norris. I appreciate your follow-up. And my last comment is, speaking specifically for the Belhaven community, is that they're not looking for equity, they're looking for parity. And when we see processes that the city has already gone through, specifically the visioning, and then items from the visioning have not come into fruition, and people are still asking about it. The visioning was 8 years ago. And in 8 years, we couldn't figure out how to bring someone in that could help build communication between the city and the community. And so what does parity look like? And that's pretty much, so I don't even touch the word equity. Parity is what the community is looking for. And so what does that look like? Do we go back to the visioning? I don't know. I have a copy of it. I can look at it. I will definitely look at it.
I would love for you to send it to me as well. I'm an obsessive note taker, as some of you might know, and I take notes in regular ink and then also in red, and that's something that I put in red in my notes, that I need to look at that 2013 visioning to see how it applies to what we're doing now. And I think that's important. It was brought up by a couple of people, and we need to look at that and see. There is a certain amount of not looking to reinvent the wheel, but if we invented the wheel back then and we haven't put it on the vehicle, like that's a problem that we need to address as well.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor Combs, for giving me all this time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Council Member Taylor. Well, once you had started, I don't think I would risk trying to take time back from you. So there is, I want to frame, hopefully the kind of coda or conclusion of this initial conversation into focusing on two elements. One, this idea, in both of which, focus on what the chief has asked for direction. One is in relation to this advisory sort of committee idea, and the second is in connection with these sort of 3 proposed additional conversations. And I think pulling into that aspect is also Councilmember Willison's proposal of a subcommittee, because I think that of the council, and I know this subcommittee is not a term that the city manager likes to hear, especially a new subcommittee. But I do think in really sort of, I don't know if it's sort of possible in this form, in this moment, with all of us sort of to give, I think, the type of direction, in the direction of some value that I do think that the chief needs to make this a partnership between him and the council, and that we're going out with these community conversations with clearly, aligned goals, and also answering the question of, are these conversations, are they framed as study sessions? Are they something else? Like I don't necessarily know, and I don't think that everything has to be a study session led by council, but if there is value there, then certainly I'm always available, right, for the study session. So I do think we need to work that out again. Like, my proposal is that we give some direction in the moment, but that there would be a subcommittee to really go and work with the chief directly on how we want to frame these conversations going forward, and also what we want to focus on, like what we want to prioritize, in the sense, because I don't want to put us in the position of trying to sort of boil the ocean. Like, I don't know why the 2013 visioning process stalled, or why some of those things weren't implemented. But I know in a lot of scenarios where you take off the sort of desire for a massive change, what ends up changing is nothing. And so I'd really like us to kind of focus on and prioritize, especially given other things on the council agenda, whether it's whether it's the cap, or whether it's the parks master plan, of course, which we all know is near and dear to my heart. Given those other commitments, I want to make sure in this scenario we're able to prioritize something that does become just a general council priority. So with that framing, I want to say, what's the general sense of this idea of a council subcommittee to sort of engage with the chief directly, going forward with regards to this next steps? Or is it something that there's a sense that no one wants to sort of let take their hands off of this, and it has to be sort of like a full council thing? Again, I understand the importance, but I think to really effectively team with the chief on this, it has to be something that's a little bit more of an intimate setting, and not necessarily the whole council. Councilmember Taylor.
Mayor Combs, I agree with you, and I'm supportive of anything that's actionable and that's going to move us forward. I know that answers your question.
I appreciate it.
Probably not.
So what are the other thoughts on? Well, obviously, Councilmember Willison proposed the idea, so I assume she's supportive of the subcommittee. But is that framing like accurate? Like a committee that in this phase teams with the chief and sort of really kind of frames this discussion going forward? Is that how you saw it, or you saw it differently? And then after that, I'll go to you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. I think I'm open to what it would be, but I was just thinking this is so broad. And I feel like when the council prioritized, reimagining public safety, it was just kind of like a couple words on a line. And then the chief, took a first stab and gave us this fantastic presentation and kind of is proposing these meetings. And what I'd be curious is, given what we've all just said and what you heard from the public feedback now, kind of what is the chief thinking about how to move this forward, and having that conversation with the whole council and the public watching and being part of that process, like sausage making, or having, like you said, that more intimate subcommittee working with the chief and then coming back to council saying the chief and the subcommittee met, here's what we heard, here's our plan, we're proposing this community conversation, this study session, we're going to change that one of the chief's 3 meetings or all of the meetings, and we're going to have a panel on this and a this on that. I just think it might be easier to do that in that smaller setting and have something for the council to react to, kind of an iterative, because I think the chief right now kind of threw us his idea based on, like I said, that one sentence, reimagining public safety. And I think, kudos to you, chief, that was a lot to interpret. But I think we've heard a lot and we have a lot to digest. And I'm not sure how we can all do that together. And so those are my thoughts, but I'm open to whatever the council wants to do.
Yeah, thank you for those comments, Councilmember Willis. And I'll just add on, and another reason why I would sort of favor that approach, it just has to come to Councilmember Taylor's concern. I really want a clear timeline. I want to get movement. And as someone who has, had some involvement in understanding all of your schedules in, organizing this meeting, it would be easier, right, as a process, just on a logistical scheduling for there to be just a couple of members. And again, I think while we're not sort of looking at this all completely the same way, I don't think we're all so far off from each other that I would be concerned about, like, the direction a subcommittee would go in. I think almost anything, even if it wasn't like what I might exactly sort of prioritize if I were on the subcommittee, I think I'm almost of the opinion that anything it came back with in consultation with the chief is something that I would be supportive as far as the framing for how we get to the next step. Vice Mayor Nash and then Councilmember Mueller.
Thank you. I fully agree with what everyone said about the subcommittee and would support that. I just wanted to, I don't think now is the right time, but Redwood City has a resolution establishing the Police Advisory Committee that I thought was an excellent, at least place to start, so that hopefully it won't be that difficult, because I think that's one of the critical pieces to get up and running quickly, and also would have some input into this whole process as a community.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Mueller.
Yeah, so in thinking about this process, the thing that comes to my mind is, using the analogy that Councilmember Wilson was using, like, do we want to go with the chief somewhere and make the sausage, or do we want to make the sausage in public? I kind of think of it, I'm going to change I'll leave it sausage. The question that I have is, do I have enough expertise actually to be a sausage maker? Or rather, is my job on council to be the sausage taster and to let chief go make the sausage, bring it back to us, then me taste it and say, no, it's not good. Needs more salt. So, in that respect, the reason why I say that is because I think about myself humbly going away on a subcommittee. And I think that I would myself be difficult, as you said, Mayor Combs, to probably schedule enough to get up to speed with the chief to become an expert enough to actually contribute to making the sausage. I think there'd be a lot of time spent trying to get me into a place where I was contributing to him, and it'd be whereas opposed to if I say to him, go make the sausage, bring it back to all of us, and then we'll taste it, I'm going to feel like, okay, I'm not the expert, but now it's ready, and I can, and he's ready to share it to provide it to me to see. And certainly, as always, we are always all very thorough in our questioning to find out if there was a missing ingredient that wasn't included. So I say that just because I don't think, I throw that out there as a third option for you all to consider. I also would say that if we're going to get sort of, well, I'll just leave it at that. I kind of would, I have a lot of faith and trust in based in both in the experience we've had with the chief to date, but also in the way he presented the presentation, to try to let him go and put that sausage together first. So.
Thank you for that comment, Councilmember Mueller, and for throwing out that option, which is a valid way to approach it. Councilmember Wilson.
Yeah, thanks for that expansion of my analogy. So to take it a step further, I'm almost thinking that, Chief Norris is the sausage maker, and the subcommittee is like the person standing in the kitchen, like, hey, taste this, before it goes out for the larger plate. So where everyone gets to taste it and react to it. So I don't see it. I'm not a subject matter expert, but I think it's just like a check-in before it goes to the larger council. So I'm actually still in favor of the subcommittee model, knowing that we're not the sausage makers. And then, so I know Mayor Combs, you like kind of wrapping things up. So where I'm at right now is I think we should put a subcommittee together to work with the chief, the sausage maker, to help him taste what he's making. And then also put together, at the same time, get a study session scheduled ASAP on advisory committee commission. I don't think that should wait. I think that should be parallel to the framing of everything else. I don't think we should wait to get started on that because it's going to take a while to like figure out recruiting and everything. And we want to get going on that. So those were my two recommendations: is a soon study session on the oversight or the advisory thing, and then a subcommittee that will work on kind of timing and framing and tasting, not going too far down any path, but just that preliminary tasting.
Thanks for that, Councilmember Willison. Just to bring on to just see how far we can go with this, City Attorney Doherty, like, could we at least sort of get a rough idea of who might want to serve on that subcommittee in this study session? Obviously, those people would not be appointed because it has not been agendized, but could we at least get some sense of among the five of us, which two might be interested in serving? Would that be okay to do in this setting? Maybe the city manager.
Yeah, maybe me. So I think it would be fine for the council to identify the two council members they would like to have on the subcommittee, and we can bring back a very brief consent item that just codifies that.
Okay, totally fair. I wanted to see how far we could take that item. The other, and I'm totally fine with the sort of separate parallel approach with regards to the advisory sort of commission committee. But one of the things I do want to have a brief discussion about is the current sort of chief's advisory committee is set up to advise the chief. And so are we looking for a body to advise the chief, or are we looking for a body to advise council? Because because I think some of the criticism, I think, in connection with that body, which I know Chief Norris did not create, is this idea that, well, it should be advising the city, or like there's something like there's something that seems like not quite right in it being set up. But I always thought that it was essentially kind of like a semi-official chief's kitchen cabinet of residents, which I think is completely valid. And I don't think that we should judge that by a commission or committee that is meant to advise the council, which is in that sense, I think that body fails. And again, no objection to having a body that advises the council, but I do think that we should sort of get some clarity on exactly what we want. Like, do we want essentially to turn that chief's advisory body into some sort of kind of Brown Act body, or do we really want something that is like advising us and not the chief? I'll go to Chief Norris and then Councilmember Mueller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, there is, previously a chief's advisory group, which I know is termed on the website as a community advisory group. And I know that they work more closely with the chief in that capacity. And here are my interests. I think that there are probably some people on that group who have a serious interest in helping this community and providing perspective. But I also know that we have got to make sure that we get a cross section of the entire city, that we have to have people who are participative as part of this group. I don't necessarily want to have it not be meaningful. And whoever is in this group, it must be transparent and accountable to the public. So I'm fine. There are probably some people on this group who would like to be part of that process, and I would hope that there's room for that. But this will be slightly different than what we did before, in the sense that it will be much more transparent, and the issues are going to be generated by community interest, and we need to make sure we follow that.
Thank you for those comments, Chief Norris. Councilmember Mueller.
Yeah, I just, I don't know if everyone's aware, but I did want to speak in and just say of that committee that how much I did appreciate the residents from District 1 who served on it. Rose Bickerstaff served on it. There's another gentleman, elder in the community, who served on it for years. And they not only served on it, but they came and they would speak to council members about what was happening in that body. And I can remember, I believe Mr. Taffy was on that from the Willows at one time. We heard from, I believe Mr. Software was on it on one time. There was a lot of work putting together that group, and we heard from them at times. We were dealing on issues like license plate readers, on drones, on different things that were taking place. They'd come and they would interact with us. So I don't want to give them in any way undercut the work they did, because they took it seriously and they interacted with council members during that time period, and they showed up at meetings. Now moving on to what the council wants to do going forward. It was funny when that committee was first, and I always feel bad, I feel like I'm talking about the past. You guys like, Ray, come on. But when that committee was first formed, I actually was like, wait, they don't report to us? Like, what are you talking about? And the chief made a compelling argument at that time that he didn't want it to be political appointments. He didn't want that the people being appointed to it would in any way be answerable to the council or be associated to any sort of council person's issue taking place in the city, that they really wanted to have something independent of that. And at the end of the day, the chief made a compelling enough case that I know for myself it won me over. And I was skeptical of it at the time, because I was like, how do you have a body in the city that doesn't report into the government? So I share that with you. If the council wants to go a different way now, I'd be inclined to listen to that reasoning, but I also give weight to the chiefs, to what the chief's thinking is around that. Because let's face it, there is the political component of what we do. So, we haven't had yet amongst us politicized appointments, but I can tell you it does happen in bodies. And then I think Mayor Combs can speak about that specifically. It does start to happen later on, where appointments to different bodies can become politicized. And I don't think we want that touching our law enforcement. So, thank you.
So generally, where are people at on that issue? I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way, but my only thing is that if it is something that is advising the chief, then let's just not hold it to the standard of something else. If that something else is what we want, then we should set up that. And again, obviously we don't have to make obviously that decision tonight. I was just hoping maybe that if there was consensus around something, that we could staff could begin to hear that. But if there's not right now, then there's not, and we'll take it up in the future more fully. Councilmember Willison.
Oh, I mean, we can take it up in the future. I'm leaning towards more transparency and having it be more, more like, I think Chief Norris seems to be on board with that. I guess advising the council. I don't know if it's advising the council or it's, I mean, I guess all of our advisory bodies advise the council, but they also basically advise the staff too through the council. So I just think where we're at now as a community and what the appetite for is for public participation, having it be really open. And I think for me, if I'm balancing that political concern and the transparent, like, and the other side, I'm definitely more on the getting. I'd rather have people applying and whatnot than it having it be like a private thing.
Yeah. And totally fair. And it could be the case that I'm setting up a sort of a faux dichotomy in the sense that it's not maybe completely either or, in a sense of just sort of having something that's more transparent. But I do think it is that. And again, like, you know, maybe it's not correct to say that like the commissions advise the council, right? But this current body that advises the chief is something different. And are we okay with that difference as with regards or do we want something that is modeled more along the lines of the current sort of commission, the current commission structure? Chief Norris.
So just to speak to that briefly, I did put a communication out to that advisory group yesterday to let them know that we were having this discussion tonight, encourage them to listen in if they wanted to, but also to let them know that while we are moving in a slightly different direction with what we're looking to do with this advisory group, that their input might be important. And so I left the door open for them to bring interest back to me if they're interested in doing this. In terms of, who this advisory group advises, I think it's important that that this information go to the community. That's one of the greatest components of this. But I also want to make sure that we keep in mind the practical aspect of this. So I want any and all feedback. But I also know that there are a lot of rules and laws and policies and things that we have to navigate within our profession, that it's important that the police at least be able to take a look at it and frame what those suggestions are and incorporate them into our way of doing business in a way that makes sense and is lawful and is not and doesn't roll over into places where we're not supposed to do, or asking us to do things that we're not allowed to do. So in that sense, definitely want to make sure that the department has the ability to add the practical component to it. And so when we're asking about where that advice goes back to, I think there needs to be that part in it, and no matter how we construct this.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Norris. And where the advice goes, and the other end of that, I think, which Councilmember Mueller, mentioned, is then how are these people selected, right? And I don't know, like, how you get the transparency in formality of it. Seems as though there may be interest in going with regards to the council and have a scenario where now, historically the chief is sort of randomly selected people. I have a neighbor around the corner who says that she emailed the chief and complained about something. I can't remember what it was. Not you, a prior chief. And that he responded and said, hey, do you want to be on the advisory commission? So, which is great, right? I mean, that's sort of one of the values of a small town. But then if we're looking for, like, a transparent formal process, that's not it, right? And so I think we'll have to sort of have that discussion. But it seems as though we're not really in a unique place. There isn't a real strong consensus anywhere. I think that there's probably going to need to be a little bit more data collection across the board before we can sort of reach some sense of where exactly we want to go. Vice Mayor Nash.
Thank you. I appreciate what's been said. I am strongly in favor of a formal process like a regular commission. And if there is value to this other commission reporting to the chief, I have no problem if that runs in parallel, if that's what is beneficial to him. But I really feel that it would be beneficial to have a police advisory committee that with public meetings and that is transparent and accountable, just like our other committees.
Yeah, thanks for that
I
comment.
very much appreciate all the time and years and work that the current commission advisory committee has put in.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, Vice Mayor Nash. What I was going to say is, as I think I'm sort of in a similar boat, but still needing to do more data collection in the sense of like, I'm kind of fine with the chief having something like that and that continuing if he sees value in it. But that like, then if the desire of the council is to really have a more formal sort of committee engagement in policing and policing services, that we establish that, right? But that we don't mean that they have to be mutually exclusive, and that the chief doesn't have access to a small body of residents of which he feel that he can sort of bounce ideas off of or meet. And so yeah, and maybe I think that's what I've been trying to get to, this idea of that, like, maybe what we're talking about are two different things, and what we may create does not mean we have to discontinue or deprecate what the chief what chiefs have been doing. The extent to which, and it could be the case that Chief Norris may not see the value in that committee continuing, and that's totally his call. And from my perspective, I'm willing to let him make that call, and then the council makes the call it wants to make with regards to this other body. So what I did want to move to this idea of the subcommittee and get some sense of where there might be interest. Where there might be interest from the council as far as serving on first, again, in all respect, Councilmember Mueller threw out the option of just having the chief come back without the assistance of a sort of subcommittee, come back with his idea for framing the discussion going forward, and that's an option, and so that's an option. Or the option is a subcommittee, and if the subcommittee is an option we take, where's who might be interested in serving on it? Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Combs. With the subcommittee, would that be a temporary between now and the time that the chief comes back, and that's the subcommittee would work with the chief, or would this be something that's ongoing?
I mean, we can make that decision now. We wouldn't have to necessarily put an expiration date on it, in the sense, but certainly I think the main sort of goal would be in sort of helping the chief frame and tee up this conversation, like, right, and that would be from my perspective the main focus. Then we could have a discussion as that has happened. We could have a discussion as a council about, like, sort of what it would look like going forward. And it could be the case that like if we do have some sort of policing services advisory committee, we could follow the model of the Finance and Audit Committee, where you actually have two members of the city council sitting on that committee. And so these roads could converge. I don't know, but I would say that the focus would be, at least initially, on the subcommittee, helping the chief sort of frame up this next phase of this discussion.
I'm supportive of the subcommittee.
Okay, yeah, I would be supportive of the subcommittee too. So then. Is there who would be interested in serving on the subcommittee? I'll just say to start off, given that I recently took on Bosca, I would sort of happily remove myself from consideration of serving on the subcommittee unless there was challenges getting to two people to serve. But other than that, I would remove myself from consideration. Councilmember Willison.
Yeah, I'd be happy to serve, but if others want to, I'm happy not to serve as well.
Councilmember Taylor.
I'll serve with Councilmember Willison.
Okay, that was easy enough. Okay, so I think we've given direction in that, and that we'll establish a subcommittee to help tee up the next phase, which again, there's a foundation and an outline already that the chief is put together, and so just helping to kind of formulate that, answer those questions of what will be the topic focus and what form that might take, study session or some other type of form, maybe with a sort of an independent sort of mediator or moderator sort of thing, and just sort of helping flesh that all out. And then we will it will be teed up for council at some point. I'll talk to the city manager about like where we can get it into the schedule, and staffing resources as far as putting together a staff report with regards to models for consideration with regards to a police advisory body commission. Am I missing anything? Chief, feel free to chime in if you think that there is something missing in the direction or some additional thing that you would like some clarity on, and certainly anyone from council.
I think that sounds great, and I think that the additional questions that I had about how we format the rest of this and potential for other spin-off meetings, and I do not want to limit this. I'll just tell you right now, I do not want to limit this to 3 structured meetings. What I want is to generate places where we can have discussions and that we can come together and have an interactive process. So I like all of this. I'm certainly willing to work with the subcommittee for however long it takes for us to feel like we're comfortable and we have some rhythm and get in the right direction.
Vice Mayor Nash.
Thank you. Just because of Brown Act issues, I will not be able to say this later. I just want to state that I personally would rather not have council members serving on police advisory committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally fair. Okay. Any other comments? Well, I want to thank my colleagues for engaging in this discussion, which I think was really productive. Thank you, Chief Norris. It's clear that a lot of thought and effort has been put into the presentation you gave, and just in general put into these subjects, and it's clear that they are really important to you. And I think we appreciate that, and it more so proves that you're certainly the right person for the job at this moment. So I'll give myself a pat on the back for being involved in your hiring. I'd also like to, as we're closing out, thank the community for their comments. I think one, I had not heard of the I'm embarrassed to say 2013 visioning report, and I have it written down too. One of the first things I'm going to do is see if I can track it down, because it is it's really important that we understand those prior discussions. And so I really appreciate the resident who mentioned that, in a sense of frustration that there had been action items from that really didn't percolate into anything. And so in general, I want to, apologize to the resident that it has taken so long to really sort of re-engage this discussion. I can throw out tons of excuses, but at the end of the day, we are the community leaders, we are responsible. And I think that you're owed an apology that we're just now getting to this. Please take some comfort in the fact that we are fully engaged. It is a really important topic to me and to my colleagues, and one in which we really do want to get right. Vice Mayor Nash.
I was wondering if staff could perhaps send that out or link to it out to all of us, because I think, yes, I'm also interested, and perhaps even post it on CCIM.
I totally in support of that. So, all right. Well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Everyone have a good rest of your night.